Hello everyone. May I get a confirmation on the chat, please, whether am I audible or not? Okay, yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah. So, hi, Samsher, Suganya, Sachin, Mohammed, Nahid. So, is that Nahid? Can I call you Nahid, or is it Mohammed? Nahid. Okay, good. So, I'm expecting more people, and then we'll get started. So, I'm a new instructor today. We actually got the feedback about the previous instructor. Actually, this was my batch, but I'll tell you once all the attendees join. So let's wait for some more time and then we'll get started. I see some of the folks has joined with Edureka guest. Maybe you can right click on your name and change the name, edit your name so that I can address you directly. Not sure how. I mean, it's showing me Edureka guest as your name. Okay, I see some more people joining now. Hey, Tamarai. Let me expand the attendees. By the way, there is no disturbance or noise from my side, right? I'm crystal clear on the audio. Okay. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yes, thank you. So, by the way, in India now it's rainy season is going on, and people tend to get sick. That was the same case with me, and that's where sorry for the inconvenience that you had for the last week. I understand that Edureka had to start the batch with another instructor instead of me, but now I'm back, and so yeah, I mean, I just wanted to know from you guys what were your thoughts about the previous weekend. I mean, I got the feedback from Edureka about the previous classes that was not so positive, and yeah, I mean, I'm taking over the these sessions now, uh, but from the from the delivery perspective, I just wanted to understand, shall we start from scratch? Because I mean, I personally I would prefer to start from scratch so that you will get a a better idea about my teaching, how I teach, and then it will be the best way as per my understanding. But uh, I just wanted to hear your thoughts also. You can type in. So I think some introduction was covered, but I can cover from my perspective as well, if you don't mind. So I maybe it will extend for one more week, because it's a 12 class session course, and now we are lagging by one weekend. So it will extend with one weekend. Okay, so now I'm okay. Is it a French batch? This is my first French batch. So Pravesh, this is the first class. Good that yeah. Now it's 7 o'clock, so officially we can start. Um, Let me share my screen. Meantime, can you see my screen? Okay, I just started a timer just for the first class. Let's give some liberty for if there are any more people joining. Okay. Meanwhile, we can talk about uh, the responses that I got. Okay, so yes, Prawej, it's a fresh batch. It is your first class, and what happened was I started showing some COVID symptoms last week. Okay, not last week, but just before that, and I was, you know, feeling sick, feverish, and cough, throat pain, and everything. That's where I just, informed Edureka that I couldn't start the batch, and that's where another instructor was assigned to you guys. But I understand, I got the feedback, I checked it, and I felt like, taking over the batch. So yeah, I mean, we can consider this as a fresh batch from today, and we'll start from scratch. Okay. So that is one thing. Sir, good morning. Really, it would be great if you can start from beginning. There is no point in carrying previous class. Okay. Thanks, Dinanath, for your feedbacks. Same is with Sachin. Yeah, sure. Previous session was quite good. Instructor was good. There was some delay due to some technical issues. Okay, Samshir. I mean, it's again anonymous. Your feedbacks are anonymous, but overall, the feedback that we got was not so positive, I suppose. That's where they requested me to take over the batch and mm, please let us know your back group. Do you mean background, Sunil? I'll be covering that as well. If you're talking about background, yeah, I'll be covering that. So first of all, meanwhile we talk, let me just do the speed test. That's that's basically a check that we need to do so that we can confirm that there is no connectivity issues or anything from my side at least. Similarly, you can also do on your side if you want. Okay, sorry, I just joined. May I know, are we having new trainer from today? Yes, Meena Kumari, I'm a new trainer today, and we'll soon be starting. I'm just giving a liberty of 5 minutes for the first session. This is the first session that we are starting with, right? So just be with me for 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, so I think you can see there is no issue on the internet from my side at least. If you get any, lags or frame drops or anything like that, um, I'll let you know what to do as well. So I generally spend 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes, to, before we start with the actual sessions, we talk about the agenda, the ground rules, what are my expectations, what should be your expectation as per my understanding, and what I have, as per my contract with Edureka and their guidelines. So all those things we will talk about. I will also tell about my profile, my work experience, and all, and then we'll get started with the module one. So I think that will set a good grounds, for us, so that we have this long journey of 6 weeks from now, right? So, yep. How much time we have? Okay, 30 seconds more. Let me present my screen. You see my presentation, right? Okay, perfect. Okay, yes. Thank you for the confirmation, guys. Thanks, Aniruddha, Swati, Bharat, Rajendra, Ghana. Okay, perfect. So we have given 5 minutes to those who were late today, first of all. And I would request from tomorrow we'll be starting immediately at 7 o'clock. Maybe I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes of liberty from tomorrow onwards for each class. But I would strongly request you to be on time so that you respect everyone else's time as well, right? So let's get started. I welcome you all to Edureka and this course for GCP Architect Certification. My name is Harshal Dharme, right? So I'm the instructor for this batch actually. I just wanted to, I mean, those who have joined late, right? I was just telling to the earlier joiners that this was initially my batch, which was supposed to start last week, right? But due to I was caught by a viral symptoms and COVID-like symptoms, I was not able to start the batch from by myself, right? And that's where this delay is. But I'll just make sure that you guys are up to the speed and you will get to learn from me directly. So yeah, so I welcome you again. Okay, thank you for choosing Edureka as a learning partner, and thank you for being a part of the Edureka family now. And I would like to start with a quote. So I mean, I would say learning is an ongoing process, right? So don't let your formal education get in your way of your learning. So that's the uh, quote I would suggest. Start exploring, never stop actually learning the new things. Okay, so even though your formal education, you be it from any background, doesn't matter, right? So as long as you have that thirst to learn, you should keep that going with you. Okay, so with that being said, I already welcome and uh, there are warm greetings from Edureka. So it was a company founded in 2011 by some group of IITians. Okay, as a learning platform, they started initially as a learning platform, some virtual sessions, session-based trainings and all, right? Kapil Tyagi, Loveleen Bhatia, Vineet Chaturvedi were some of the people who started actually. But with time, this platform has evolved courses, trainings related to product engineering, program management, digital marketing, and so many other technical and curriculum courses as well, right? And now they support self-paced as well as live session-based trainings as well, like this one, right? And apart from that, Edureka also has 24 by 7 doubt support system, right? So you can ask your doubts. They have the forums where you can post your questions. And again, this is a live session, so you can ask the questions related to our course as well, right? So with that introduction to Edureka, let's move ahead and let me talk about myself. So I'm a passionate big data and GCP technical architect. I work as a technical architect. I work as a solution architect for an investment bank. I have strong experience of more than 11 years in IT industry now. And I initially started as a Java developer, but like more than 7 years now, I've been into cloud and big data, right? So when even the cloud, some of the clouds were new in the market, there was a big trend on the big data analytics and side, right? So I was working on a big data side as a lead and developer by that time earlier, right? I also worked in different types of organizations like startups, giants, everything, and I've handled more than 7 to 8 migration projects from on-premise to big data on premises, or big data migrations, or for on premises to cloud, or from other cloud to Google Cloud, like that. So I have majorly worked on the migrations kind of projects. But yeah, I mean, additionally, I have also worked upon lift and shift or re-architectured the projects or re-platformed the project, right? And I have also covered multiple domains during my experience, like retail domain, insurances, banking, logistics, and multiple others as well, right? So, certification perspective, I am a certified professional cloud architect, and as I said, I was initially working as a Java developer. So, I am Java developers. I am Oracle certified Java developer as well, and there are other certifications that I have done for Udemy and Coursera as well for my own learnings and all. I have recently certified as a CDL, which is another GCP certification. Okay, and so talking about my how do I contribute now? So I work as a solution architect for a leading investment bank. Okay, so I help them, designing the pipelines, suggest the pipeline security guardrails I design for them and all. And I also, mentor the other juniors, engineers, and other architects, fellow architects with my knowledge. And I also deliver tech talks within the company. For whatever the experience that I get from different projects within the organization, right? And I'm not going to talk about, I mean, whatever you can see the skill sets that I have from the big data and GCP side. Apart from that, you already know, right? So the Java background I also have. But yeah, so that's pretty much about me. Uh, and let's talk about the tool that you might have used today to join. So I mean, I just pasted one screenshot over there. This is the tool. You might be able to see somewhat like this on your toolbar. And these are some of the features, and we'll talk about how do we use that, right? So the it's by default muted. You guys are muted by default. Okay, and I have a master unmute button. Even though you unmute yourself, you won't be able to speak up. That is to avoid the chaos. Basically, that's the Edureka's policy, that you have a double muting in place for this. And we have maximize, minimize panel. Then you can leave the webinar to troubleshoot if any issues, right? And you also have a question box via which we are actually communicating for most of the times. And then you have a hand raise options. You need to use hand raised only when you have any networking or connectivity issues, right? So with that being said, let me set my expectation from this course. Okay, and by the end of this particular slide, I would have a clear picture. At least you would have a clear picture from what I'm going to cover in this entire course. If those do not match with your expectations, again, I feel free to reach out to Edureka, right? So my expectation is this is going to be around Google Professional Cloud Architect certification, right? So this is going to be around that, focused around the GCP course itself, not about other things like Python, Java, API development, or I would say networking, right? So I would be covering how, for an example, how GCP has implemented the networking. I'll be covering that, but I will not be covering what is IP address, what is V. I mean, I'll cover some of them, but the basics like what is router, what is firewall, what is the IP address, all these things, these are the networking basics. I would request some level of ground knowledge is expected, because this is a level 200 or level 300 kind of a course, like an intermediate or an expert kind of a course, right? So the basics I am expecting you guys to learn by yourself. But I mean, I also have some of the notes prepared by my own. I'll share those as well before the class so that you can read out, but don't be just dependent on that, because it is created based on my understanding, right? So I may be wrong in some of the understanding, But yes, I'm just providing that for your references. You also have a lot of other stuff. This I'm talking about the basics, right, which I am not going to cover in this particular course, right? And um, now another point is certification related questions, right? So I have been seeing people started asking from the first or the second session itself that about the questions that will be asked in the certification, right? So I would request you to park those kind of questions for the last module, right? I mean, you can ask the questions about the session, you can ask the questions about the concept, but don't ask me to give the questions, the dumps or the sample questions. So I have them, okay, I have them, but we'll be covering that in the module number 12 for certificate. Sorry, give me a minute. Sorry, sorry for that. So I have those sample questions. I'll be walking you through. We'll be spending like 1 or 2 hours in the very last module of this particular course. That will be 12th module. Okay. So just park your such thoughts for the last and just concentrate on learning the GCP. If you already coming from a GCP background, you can ask me to get deeper into any of the concepts. I'm happy to answer all your questions, but just don't ask the dumps or the sample questions. Okay, don't just rely. I don't prefer relying only on the dumps and just going for an exam. Right? I have failed myself. I'll tell you. So that's not I would suggest to you. Okay, so just concentrate on the GCP, learning GCP first, and then we'll be fine. And from the demo perspective, I'll be covering a lot of demos in most of the sessions. Most of the concepts will have multiple demos in every session, and these demo sessions will be like combination of GUI. Either we'll be doing from GUI or we will be doing from the Cloud Shell, which is a command line argument, so command line interface, or sometimes it will be like half of the demo from GUI, half of some of via commands and all, right? So I would like you guys to get your hands dirty with both of them, right? It's not that everything I'll do it from GUI, because um, there are some of the there are different types of people might have been joined, right? So some of them would be developers, some of them will be architects, some of them will be managers, right? So it is from my perspective, it is very important for to understand both the things, not just the GUI, not just the CLI. Right? That's what talks about the heterogeneous background. So talking about the heterogeneous background, I just wanted to again uh, talk about that. The people might have been from the different backgrounds, right, as I said, and I want everyone to respect everyone others questions. So because whenever the question is posted, I generally read it aloud. So don't just hesitate to ask questions that this might feel silly or something like that, right? So don't feel that way. It might be silly to others, but it will clear your concepts, right? So just respect everyone's questions, and don't hesitate yourself, or don't stop yourself from asking questions, right? Another one is the Edureka slides, right? So you might have been seeing on LMS portal that there are some slides given by Edureka. I am not a slide reader. I don't even go to the slides. These are for your for your readings, that Edureka has provided those materials to you. You can have the slides open while I teach, but I'll be teaching directly on the rough notes, right? So I'll be taking pen, and I'll be drawing the diagrams and everything, and we'll be learning on those, not on the slides. So if you have any or you feel that I'm missing something, you can just let me know, and I'll cover that as well. Okay. um So no API developments. Yes, I already talked about it. So we're not here to, develop the new APIs or give the demos on the APIs, write the Python or the Java codes in and spend more time on that, right? But we'll be covering all the required demos which are, relevant and required. Doubt clarification, yes, that will happen on the regular intervals, like 15-20 minutes. I'll be checking your question box, or at the end of every topic, the major topics, I'll be checking the question box. So either park your questions or you can just post it on the question box. I'll be anyways reading that. Okay. And yeah, so these are my expectations. If you feel that these expectations, you did not join Edureka, you did not sign up for this with these expectations, so I think is the perfect time to contact support, and they will be able to help you, right? So, and the certification perspective, there are two major certifications. There are multiple others, but I'm talking about the technical certifications. That is ACE and PCA, associate cloud engineer and cloud professional cloud architect. Okay. So after we go through all the 12 sessions with me, you should be able to confident you should be confident enough to clear both of them, because I am already I myself has cleared the certification for architect, right? So similarly, the course would be similar for ACE as well. So that should also be covered. Okay. So any questions on these expectations? First of all, Edureka guest, as I requested, you can edit your name. I am not able to address you by directly, but yeah, let me read certifications. Professional cloud developer. Are we going to cover the topics? Yes, most of them, all of them are covered already in our course, right? So that will also be covered. So cloud architect will cover cloud developer anyways. Okay, so I take that as there are no more issues, and these are some ground rules set by Edureka to have a flawless experience, right? So we already completed the first one, the speed test and the troubleshooting, right? So let's talk about the troubleshooting for a while. Will we cover migrations? No, we will not be covering the migrations, right? Because this is case by case, Rajendra. So it will be like, different use cases, or different companies will have uh, migrations from different. Some of them will have some on-premises VM, some of them will have to migrate from other clouds. So I'm not going to cover the migrations, but for each topic we'll be talking about how that is being done in GCP, right? So that's how it will be. I work on AWS, will migrate our infra on GCP. Is this the course right for me? Uh, from See, if you are just this is the question from Pravesh, right? So if you are specifically looking for the migration from AWS to GCP, this is not the course for you. Okay, this is about the GCP certification. So I'll be covering all the GCP concepts which are required for the certification. I will not be covering how do we migrate from AWS to GCP, how this piece is migrated, how is that piece migrated, because it again depends, right? You don't always, not all the time you have a one solution for all the use cases, right? So it is again depending upon your particular company. There will be multiple other options on the when you land upon the GCP. So if you are just concentrating or focusing on the migrations, no, that's not the course for you. Okay. DevOps, yes, Rajendra. CI/CD pipeline, yes, we'll be creating CI/CD pipelines demo as well on that as well, yes. Are we covering data ingestion into GCP, and steps to transform computing data? Yes, yes, Aman will be covering that in a demo, in the demos as well. Yes. Okay, so I was coming back to the troubleshooting. As I showed, right, there is no issue from my side on the speed test and connectivity. If you feel that there is a lag or anything in, and just raise your hand like that, or if I see multiple hand raised, then I'll just consider that as a major issue. Otherwise, what you can do is you can just leave the webinar and clear your browsing history, you clear your cache from your browser setting or something like that, and delete the temp files, right, and just try to log back in, right, and that should solve 90% of the issues, right. Unity in diversity, I already talked about. People are from different backgrounds. Some of them will be freshers, some of them will be intermediates, and some of them will be more experienced, like managers or architects as well, right. So just respect everyone else as well, and please do join on time, right. So and ask your questions. Don't feel that, don't hesitate, basically. um, Muted during the session, unmuted at the end of advanced queries, right. So I'll be unmuting you at the end of the class if you want to speak up or you're not able to explain your question, right. So you will be unmuted by me at the end of the session. During the session you will be muted. You can ask your question just like the way you are asking right now, right. So the way that is, I mean, that we have to avoid the chaos, basically. You might have seen how this virtual online sessions goes. If you don't manage that part, right, it will be very difficult for me to manage so many people, right. Then early breaks, no, I don't think so we'll be able to give you early breaks. I'm just kidding. Okay. So I understand we all are humans. We need breaks. So, and anyways, like, as per the study, we can only concentrate for 45 minutes in stretch. So I'll be giving you 5 minutes of time after every hour, and you can grab coffee, tea, whatever you want. This is the morning time for India, and same goes with the other candidates as well. So just take 5 minutes of break, and we'll be back, and we'll start no matter what. Okay, because we have lot to cover. So, and since we are actually spending around 30-35 minutes on today's first session, for two sessions, today and tomorrow, I'll be extending for 15-20 minutes per session today and tomorrow. Okay, so be regular again. Be regular, be consistent, punctual, and practice whatever I teach you. I'll give you some homeworks as well, and I'll also, we have some assignments also. For assignments, you can, I mean, I'll not be hand holding or spoon feeding you about the assignments. Just go to the assignments on your LMS portal and submit them, and that will be actually verified by the backend team. If there are any issues, you can get in touch with them. And yeah, so you, you have lifetime access to your courses. So you will have recording of this course uploaded after, I think, 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours after the end of the class, right. So you can always go back and check the recordings of our sessions, right. And feedback, right. So I'll be talking about the feedback. That is the most important piece for me and you as well, because that's the way of communicating, right. So good that you gave the feedback. You guys have given the feedback for the last session, and we could take a good step towards that, right. So it is very important, and it is kept anonymous, right. So don't worry that your name will be revealed or anything like that, right. It's basically three three simple questions. You need to rate the class content, like the slides and all. Then you need to rate me as an instructor: excellent, good, average, and bad. These are four ratings, and on the right side you can see score, right. So I'll be talking about that as well. And then you can, even if you want to talk, give some feedback, you can always write more on the third point about the quality and all, right. So there are with the feedback, basically, there are two major outcomes. One is about improving the overall teaching experience, right? So if you feel that Harshal is not telling this particular thing, Harshal is not entertaining me, Harshal has ignored my questions, you can put those. I generally don't do that, but it might happen that I ignore some of the questions just because it is going to be covered in next 5 minutes or so, right? Or in the next topic. That's where I sometimes I ignore those questions. Or if you feel that with many questions I lost your question, you can just post it again. And there is no harm in posting the question again if it is not answered, right? So that way we can improve our overall teaching experience. It will help everyone else as well. So I can also, if there you feel that I'm going very fast or I'm going very slow, I go a little deeper unnecessarily, you can tell me those as well. So depending upon the batches, I'll change my style. Don't worry about that. And another one is from this feedback. This is also calculated. This also calculates my own instructor rating. Okay, this is for the backend and my to quantify my ratings from the Edureka side, right? So let's say 75-80% of the people are satisfied, give excellent, right? So it's good for me, right? So basically, I was talking about the score, right? The excellent is what matters to me. If you give me excellent, I'll get a one score for each feedback. For good, I get nothing. It's like a neutral for me. And for average and bad, I get one negative, right? So based on this, there is a different formula. Let's not get into that. But based on that, it calculates certain percentage of my ratings. And yeah, so be generous and be kind while providing the feedback. Unless you feel that something is horribly going wrong, I'm not teaching well, you can give me good or whatever average. I'm not asking you to give me excellent all the time, but just be generous and kind on that, right? So don't just unnecessarily provide the wrong feedbacks unless I'm doing horribly wrong, right? So that's what my point over here overall. Okay. So then let's talk about the LMS. I'm not going to the browser. I'm just going to spend 2 or 3 more minutes just to explain this particular thing. You will be able to see some similar one. This is the screenshot that I got from the Edureka. Here you will be seeing GCP particular course name, right? And on the left side, you might be able to see something like this, right? So and on top you can see support discussion forum. In discussion forum you can post your questions, and Edureka has a different, as I told you, the support team, right? They will be able to answer your questions or post you other different relevant links which can solve your queries, right? And during the session you can ask me as well, right? Just give me 1 minute, I'll just take a sip of water, please. Sorry. Okay. Then here you can see on the right side, you see the upcoming class. You can directly put a mouse over here and you'll get a join button. You might have, some of you might have joined from here, or you can go to this class schedule. Let me show you. Yeah. So this is about your tracker. Just keep on, be punctual, uh, attend all the sessions, complete assignments, and you'll be good. That's okay. From here also you can join. If you can click on this class schedule, you will get a join button and you can see um, option to join from there as well. Also from here you can join. Okay. um, Again, at the end of the class you will also see a feedback button from here, or when you close or leave the webinar, it will automatically redirect to the feedback page. Just sorry, just finish the feedback before you close it, right? Because After that, after I think after 30 minutes or 1 hour from the session ends, this feedback link will not be available for you. So you will lose the feedback. I will lose the feedback basically. So just when you leave the webinar from the tool that we talked about, you will automatically get redirected and just feel it before you close the browser, right? Um, on the left side, you have some prerequisites. I think there are some materials uploaded by Edureka as well there as a prerequisites for, let's say, for networking basics or for Linux commands, something like that, which are not actually relevant. Uh, uh, I would not say relevant, but those are not the part of our coverage, but those are prerequisites, right? So you can always go and check those out, some basics on that. Then video lectures. This is not go through the recorded lectures before every class. I think this is not. You will not be able to see this particular for our class, right? Then you have course content, right? This is where is your all material, course material, the presentation, or your recordings will also appear over here for each session, and you will also see some other. If I upload something, let me just quickly show you. I think I have uploaded for you guys already. So if you go here, right, course content. So I'll be uploading everything to the first bubble. You have 12 bubbles over here, right? For 12 sessions. One and first and second are already done by the other instructor, but I mean, this is the third session, so automatically this recording will go to the third one. But I'll suggest not to use this bubbles for class recordings. Go to this particular one, right? You see first and second by the other instructor. Mine one will come as a class 3 from here onwards, right? And going back to the course content, I'll be uploading any PDFs, any zips or anything. If I give you code base for your demos or anything, just like it will come over here. So if you see here some PDFs I have attached, so you can just download from here. Introduction to GCP that we are going to cover. We are going to cover this much today, right? So I have already uploaded for your. These are some of my notes. Okay, these are some of my notes. Those are not approved by Edureka. So you know, I mean, we can't take that responsibility to if there are any mistakes, those will be my mistakes. So just double check. But and again, like clouds are evolving and all, right? So um, some of them could be a little here and there, but most of the times I do update my stuff regularly and then only upload to the new batches, right? So presentation assignments that you can see, some demos, PDFs, all these things also you can see, and you have my attached files as well at the bottom. And as I said, I'll be uploading all the files to this first bubble so that you get all the my provided materials at one single place instead of different bubbles. Okay, so I'll be attaching to the first model, so keep an eye on the first bubble itself. And I'll be telling when I upload that. Prerequisites we already discussed. Classroom recordings, so all the recordings will come over here after 10 to 12 hours, I think. Then personal library, this is for me. If I want to upload anything, this is my personal space. Okay, so I think we have covered everything. And yeah, so any questions? Let me check the, I think we spent 40 minutes, close to 40 minutes. You will cover all the syllabus which shared related to this course, Bharat. Correct. That is correct. I'll be covering all the syllabus. I'll also be covering some of the more important ones which are not a part of this syllabus. But I feel that that is important because GCP is again very vast. I mean, from the topics perspective, and Edureka will focus on the certification, right? So whatever is relevant to certification that they have covered, but I will personally touch upon some here and there as well while going on particular module, right? Even though that is not a part of the actual syllabus, I'll try to cover. Okay, but we'll also try to stick to our agenda, right? Because we don't want to spend a lot of time on digressing. Will I have knowledge to deploy the any Spring or Angular application after this course completion? So my question is wrong. Sorry, Swati, can you by using GCP? So once you go through this all these sessions, you will get a good picture from architectural perspective. I will not be covering the application development or application migration for any Spring Boot, Angular JS, or any particular stuff, right? I'll not be covering that, but you will get a picture, or you should get that vision. How do you want to architect your migration, right? So you'll get that. Will this course cover the Google Cloud Digital Leader certification? Yes, Madhvi, I have completed this CDL certification. This is very easy certification to start with, Madhvi. So you will get that idea for sure. It's very high level. It's nothing deeper than as compared to architect certification. So once you, if you, since this course focuses on the certification of architect level, uh, CDL will surely be easy to cover. Yes. After this module completion, will I have knowledge to deploy the any application using GCP? I think I'll just answered, Swati, for you. Good morning. This is the first session of for GCP. Any feedback or things I should do? Let me know, Shrey. Yes, Shrey. So this is my first session as well. So if there are any homeworks or anything I want you guys to do, I'll surely tell going during the sessions, right? So yeah. Please start the GCP content. Think we are wasting. Sorry, Srinivasa, we are not wasting the time. I'm just setting the context. This is the you know uh, some of the guidelines that I need to tell to everyone, because it's not just one or two person we have more than 50 people, right? So um, I'll soon start on that. Can I? And I need to respect everyone's questions, as I said, Srinivasa. So I need to check all the questions um, after I deliver something. So just be with me. Aniruddha, can I be able to remove data from GCP? Sorry, I did not get your questions, Aniruddha. Can I able to remove the data from GCP? Okay, I'm not. Please be more precise on your question. Okay. So yeah, I think that is pretty much about your feedback. So with that being said, I would wish you very best luck, and let's start with the actual GCP course. Shall we? Okay. So let me close this and let me open a rough page. We already discussed about these things. Okay. Just let me hide the question box now, and so that we can get started. And yeah, so there's one more thing I wanted to talk about was the modules that we are going to cover. Okay, let me see if it is here. Yeah. Okay, so I'll be talking 1 minute for each module. What are we going to cover in all the 12 modules? Okay. So the first module that we are going to cover today is Introduction to the GCP, where we'll be talking about what is actually cloud computing. Okay. What are different cloud computing other providers that we have? Okay. How GCP is different? What are different offerings that GCP has? What are different services that they provide, right? All those things we'll be able to see we'll be able to understand in today's module. And we'll also create a free tier account. I'll not walk you through, but I have PDFs. I'll walk you through the PDF and you can try it out on your own. That's a free tier account that we get from Google. Uh, you just need a credit card for that. Some of you might have already created that, right? Or it might have been covered in the session by another instructor last weekend, right? That is module number one. Module number two will be managing GCP. So here we'll be, understanding the project structure, how GCP has the organized different nodes like organization, folder, projects, then the resources, right? How the billing happens, how we can communicate with the GCP console, maybe via GUI, maybe via different commands, command line. How do we install the cloud SDKs, right? So all these things will be covering in managing GCP. Some of the module part I'll cover for managing GCP today, if time permits. And then the third module talks about the virtual network. So this is the networking part. This is the most vast. I mean, it will span across multiple more sessions. So this is a vast topic. Okay. So this will talk about how GCP has implementations for different networking concepts. So here I'll provide you some um, some basic materials to cover on the networking side before you we start with the module number three later on, maybe next week, right? Sorry. Sorry about that. So we'll be talking about regions, zones, VPC, VPN, load balancer, peering, firewalls. There are a lot of stuff in networking in GCP, right? But we'll be focusing on implementation within GCP, right? We'll not be covering the basics. I'll touch upon as basic I can, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on basics on the module number three, because we have a lot of things to cover. Module number four will talk about security and identity, access management, fundamentals and all, right? So here we'll be talking about different roles, permissions, what are the different types of users we can create, right? We can create service accounts, we can create different proxies or custom roles or predefined roles. We have uh, KMS and other security aspects of the GCP as well that we'll be covering in module number four. And module number five will be talking about compute services. So compute services means there are a lot of different processing frameworks that we have, like compute engine or app engine, managed instance group, instance templates, different machine families, disk options. We have a lot of things to cover in this as well. So we'll be covering that in compute services. In data storage services, there are different ways where, depending upon the use case, you can select different storage service. There are different source storage services provided by GCP, like we have cloud storage, cloud SQL, Spanner, Bigtable, data store, Firestore, file store, memory store. There are tons of options to store your data depending upon what type of data you want to store. We will select. We will also see in which case which particular service you should select. All those things also will be covering in model number 6 about storage. Seventh module will talk about GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine, which is a container orchestration platform or container orchestration engine, right? So we'll be talking about GKE. We'll be talking about the concepts of Docker, containers, how earlier era the monolithic architecture used to take place, and then how people are adopting the containerizations. Then we'll jump on to the GKE. This is going to be again extensive, little bit hands-on as well. We'll write some codes, we'll deploy those applications, and we'll see different types of demos in each of them. In each of the model, we'll be covering demos as well. Then model number 8, 9, 10. This will be about 8 will be talking about Cloud Function, Cloud Run, VMware engines, and other application developments, right? So that is what we'll be covering in application development. In model number 9, DevOps and automation, this will be like a more like a DevOps thing, right? So in automation, we'll be having CI/CD pipelines, Jenkins integration, or cloud source repositories, just like GitHub and all. So Google also has their own source repositories. We'll also see logging and monitoring. How do we create log syncs? All these things we'll be covering in DevOps and automations. And again, deployment managers, some of you might be already knowing Terraform, Ansible, right? Similarly, deployment manager is one of the tool in GCP for automating the infrastructure. So we'll be covering that as well in model number 10. Model number 11 will be big data analytics and AI services. So there are a lot of stuff in big data. I was working as a big data lead architect myself, right? So um, I have a good hands-on experience on these, like tools like Dataflow, PubSub, Dataproc, BigQuery, Data Labs, and there are a lot of other tools, Composer, right? So Data Fusion. So there are multiple data, big data analytics products that GCP has. We'll cover that as well. And finally, with module number 12, we'll be talking. Actually, we'll be trying to focus on the certification. I'll also show you my GitHub code base and different ways. I mean cheat sheets and different YouTube channels that I personally follow, different websites that I personally follow, right, for cracking the exams, and some case studies will be seeing. And as I said, I'll also give you some sample questions. We'll walk you through those questions, and we together will try to solve those questions so that you get some good you know feel before you actually go for the certifications, right? So that is pretty much about the entire course outline, right? And now let's start with the actual course for the GCP, introduction to the GCP, the first module that we are going to cover. Okay. So before we go to the GCP, I just want to understand from you, what do you mean by, what do you think about the cloud computing, right? Anyone want to attempt? What is cloud computing? I don't want bookish definitions, please. It is scalable infra. Services available on a remote computer. Good, Shrey. Yeah. Any data transformations. Okay. Good that you guys are attempting. Okay. So a bookish definition says that it's a on-demand availability of your computer system resources, especially on data storage or compute power, without direct active management by the user. That's what the definition says, right? But I mean, I'm not a fan of the bookish definitions. What I can say is, if you break down your hardware peripherals or your software, or just understand your laptop with which you have joined, right? So just understand each and every piece, like disks you have networking LAN ports, or you have Ethernet ports, right? You have internally you have SSDs, hard disk, CPU, RAM, right? You have different OS. Some of you might have Linux, some of you might have Windows, some of you might have Mac, right? Then you have different applications installed, right? You have Java, Python, different runtimes, right? Or you have MongoDB, you have Oracle installed, right? You have a file system, you have attached it to a networking SharePoint, or on OneDrive, Google Drive, right? So all these are nothing but a network attached storage that you have, let's say, right? So all these, if you could rent it out, right, in a way you can rent it out to people, public, right? That is simple way what is cloud computing is all about, but at a very large scale, right? Just with a one simple laptop example, we have understood that there are so many pieces, there are so many things that you can have as a bundle. And if you think that at a very higher scale, that is nothing but your cloud computing is all about. Okay. So peripherals, on rent, I would say. I won't write much. Okay, so just listen to what I'm trying to say. So let's say, I mean, and now if I tell you how the cloud was born, right? Even why, how this particular need was in place. So back in days, if you back in days when we used to listen to any songs, we used to see the movies. What we used to do, we used to download the songs. We used to, at least that is what I used to do. I used to go to some different servers, and I used to personally search for the particular song. I used to download that song locally on my mobile or my laptop. I used to listen to them. I used to have so many songs um, stored on my laptop. So many movies collections on my hard drive, right? So that is what we used to do in back in days when I was in college, right? But nowadays, if you see, the new era is not about downloading something or storing something on your own. It's now streaming, right? For let's say for songs, you go to Spotify, Ghana, JioSaavn, or many other platforms, right? For movies, we rely on Netflix, Amazon Prime, right? Even for books, we don't people don't read the books now. They go to Kindle and read the online books, right? So what is happening is, with this new introduction to IoT devices, smart devices, smart smartphones, and this internet connectivity, right? So all the basically the data that is getting generated is very huge now. To to store that particular data, you need more storage. And you can't have a storage, so many huge storages on your own. You can have a hard disk or external hard disk, one or two external hard disk, right? But as the data grows, it's not feasible options anymore, right? So that's where you need more storage systems. Once you have more storage systems, you need some more data processing frameworks, right? So for having more data processing, you need more computations. For more computations, you need more servers, right? So servers, we mean like more RAM, more GPUs, CPUs, everything, right? And again, these are all the pain areas, right? So if you feel that you want to store TBs of data, it's not possible anymore to have it on your laptop. That's where this gave a need of something which we can rent out. Or I mean, we can not rent out, but we can take something on rent, right? So that is nothing but the birth of your cloud computing system, right? So there are different public cloud providers, right? Who have, they have unlimited storage, unlimited computations, unlimited servers. They have big data centers in which they have tons of racks, in which they have multiple servers, in which they have multiple computations, and they have all the networking is in place. Depending upon your need, you just take it on the rent, pay what you use, and that's it. You can release them. So that's a simple cloud computing is all about. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so if I give a diagram, let me just check. Yeah, I have the diagrams. Okay, so let's understand with one more I would say an example of website hosting, right? So this is a traditional approach of website hosting. If you see the uh, particular uh, diagram or an image on my screen, right? Let me take a pen. Is it visible? Let me change the color. Something like this. Okay, this is better. So what used to happen is, Okay, so you can see the screen now, right? So what used to happen is traditionally, when there was any e-commerce website that you want to create, right? You need to have a particular, server. Okay. One second. Oh man, what is happening? Okay. So you want a server. That is first thing that you want, right? Then you want, since the people will start using your website, they will generate a lot of data. You need a storage service where you can store the data, right? Then third one, you need some architecture, network architecture, right? Or I would say processing architecture, different types of architectures that you want if you want to create any website, right? Then you have support for smartphones or IoT devices, right? So because nowadays the websites are accessible from laptop or different devices, right? And different websites will be having different aspect ratios. So you should have your website accessible from different devices as well, right? All these things are needed. Then once the data is there, you need to process this data, right? So let's say for an e-commerce website, you have different orders in place. You need logistics, right? Let me write it here. So let's say you have got one order. You need to process that order. You need to pack the order, ship the order, and you need to have some logistics in place, right? All these things are needs to be, you need to take care of all these particular things, right? Now, so what do you think about having this particular play? I mean, this is all that you need to do by your own in traditional way. This is what companies used to do by their own. They need to own the server, they need to own the storage, they need to own the data processing frameworks, CPUs and RAMs and whatever they need to process the data. They need to create the architecture for different types, networking architecture, data processing architecture, how the data will be stored, that architecture, everything. They used to have a team or an set of architects to do that, right? They also need to work on the website hosting, right? They or any other applications whatever they are actually developing. So they need to have a developer team, testing team, all these things again. And once the website is go live or in production, they will have actual traffic and they will have to serve their actual product, right? Like the, and then let's say in case of e-commerce, we'll have logistics, right? So the logistics, shipment of products, all these team, other third party vendors which will ship the products, deliver the products for them, all these things also needs to be taken care by that particular company, right? So if you talk about the pain areas in this particular traditional approach, right? So what happens is, I'm sorry. What happens is there are a couple of issues that we'll talk about here. Okay. So what happens is, generally on the e-commerce website, what happens that on a certain, like right now in India, it's a festival season, right? So in festival seasons, we'll have a lot of traffic. Like there'll be sudden spike in demand. Okay. So what app, uh, what these people have, as an e-commerce website company, they need to take care of this sudden spike in demand, because for a certain amount of time. Certainly there'll be a lot of people who will be trying to access this website, and these servers will be loaded for that particular period of time, maybe for a month, or maybe just one day in a month, right? And for the rest of the day, rest of the days in the month or a year, it will not have that much of traffic, right? So but you need to, as a owner of the company, you need to have uh, all these things in place to handle such sudden spike in demand, right? So upscaling issues, then have latency issues. So it might happen that your website is in India, it's hosted in India, and it is being referenced or being trying to people from US, people from Europe is also, they are also trying to access your website, and they will certainly see some latency because your server is hosted in a India region, right? And it's again there is some network latency that they will feel, right? So they will feel the website is lagging or something like that, right? Again, since everything is managed by your own company, you will have to manage the patching and maintenance of the class servers, right? Sorry about that. Then, since you have your own servers, you need to have physical infrastructure. You will have, for sure, you will have your own physical infrastructure. You will have power backups. You need to have power backups in case there is a power breakdown in your area. You need to have internet service provider for your websites to have a good internet connectivity. Also, you will need dust free environment where you can host your servers, right? So all these things will be needed, and on top of that you will also need maintenance and networking team. All the time they will have to monitor the health of your network, health of your clusters, their computation, or their what I can say, uh, you know uh, capacity management. Everything they will have to constantly monitor using different metrics, right? And again, if there is any natural calamities, then data recovery plans. All these are the issues that we are talking about when you have your uh, on-premise setup or your traditional way when you own everything, right? So if you see here, your focus is not on the actual business. Your focus is on the infrastructure rather, right? So your most of the things that you are doing is on the we are talking about the infrastructure rather than we are talking about that particular application like the e-commerce. What are we going to do with the e-commerce? What type of users base, or what type of data is getting generated, what type of shopping patterns that you can see. All these things we are least bothered. First issues that we are talking about is the infrastructure, right? And that's where in traditional way more emphasis or the more time was spent on the infrastructure rather than the actual business, right? That's where that's where the solution came as cloud computing. By the way, is this font visible to you guys, or is it less small? Visible, fine. Okay. Otherwise, I can just zoom it a little bit. Yeah. So now talking about the solutions in cloud computing. Cloud computing. I'm sorry, I'm still having some cough. And yeah. So on demand. So what does cloud computing talks about is on demand infrastructure. I would say on demand infrastructure, right? So you can get unlimited CPU, unlimited RAM, unlimited storage. Whenever you want, you can just take it. If you don't want, you don't want, you can release it, right? So on-demand infrastructure, that is when you need, whenever you need, you can avail, right? That is on-demand infrastructure that you have. Then pay as you go. Okay, this is the terminology that you will hear going forward. So you pay only for what you use, right? Or consume. If you release something, you don't need to pay for that, right? So let's say you want 20 GB of RAM. You just take 20 GB of RAM, create a VM out of it. You will only pay for that particular VM. Once your task is done, you don't want that VM to be up and running anymore. Just release it. You just delete that VM, right? So similar case with the storage. You want let's say 50 TB of data, 50 petabytes of data, terabytes of data, whatever data storage you want. You can just either avail it, or depending upon the service, you can just start accumulating your data on that particular storage service, and they will only charge you for the size of what you basically consume on their infrastructure, right? So sorry. Then with cloud computing, you don't get any downtime, no pain for maintenance and patching, because these all things, scaling, I would say patching, scaling, upgrades, all these things will be taken care by cloud providers, right? So your cloud provider will take care of the maintenance of your cluster, the patching. If there are any new patches, if there are any vulnerabilities, they have more than upgraded versions. They will upgrade your clusters free of cost without you having to bring down your cluster or server, right? So you won't even feel that there is any downtime, right? So that is how your focus will be. Now, since the infrastructure is being taken care in such a way that you don't need to worry about all the issues that we discussed, your focus can be on your business. Focus is more on the business rather than infra now, right? Because infra part is taken care by the cloud provider, and you can simply focus on your business. That's how you generate more business. I mean, based on the data that is generated by your user base, you have stored it. Let's say you got tons of data, your logs are there, right? Based on that, you can find the different trends. Maybe you can find different recommendations. Maybe you can find different ways to give some discounts, promotions, or some membership to your customers, right? So that is what your actual business was all about, isn't it? Your business was the e-commerce business, but in traditional way you are more focusing on the infrastructure. Right now with cloud computing in solution, you can focus more on your actual business, right? That was the entire point on is all about. I think we passed 13 minutes. Let's take a 5 minutes of break. Maybe that is overwhelming for you, and then we'll actually start with service model. So before that, let me just take a quick look at your uh, questions. Okay, so let me start the timer. I will, or wait, I'll just take the questions. mm, Highly scalable, secure, reliable infrastructure, that is correct, that was the definition. Okay. When we are getting compute resource online as per our requirement. Samshir, I did not get your questions. Your question. When we are getting compute resource online as per our requirement. Oh, okay. Is that the definition that you were talking about? Then yeah, it's partially correct again. Yes. There are different terms like application as a service, infrastructure as a service, data as a service. Where does GCP fits in? That's a question by Shrey. Okay, so that is where we are going to cover next. That is called as service models. So there are multiple different types of service model: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right? So GCP does not fit in this. GCP has these models. Okay, so the GCP is a collection of multiple products or the tools or the services that you can say, and each of these services will either fall under either infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, all these things that we are talking about. So we'll be covering that in the next after break. Any other questions? What will happen to infrastructure and networking engineers? Again, we will be covering that in the DevOps part. Okay, so since that the network engineers, maintenance teams, networking teams is no more required. I wouldn't say no more required, but that's where the DevOps is the new terminology that you might be seeing on the job portals and all, right? So that's that is the new. We take 10 minutes of break. Is that for me? Because I'm coughing? Some share. Okay. Um, I mean, we have a lot of things to cover, guys. So let's just take 5 more minutes of break, not 10. 10 will be a lot. Uh, and then I'll give you after 1 more hour. I will give you 5 more minutes of break. So we have multiple breaks to cover, right? So let's take 5 minutes of break, and we'll resume with the service model. Okay, guys. Thank you. I'll be back as well. Okay. Okay. So 5 minutes is over. So let's start. Let me just check if there are any new questions. No. Okay. So let's start with the characteristic of cloud computing. There are a couple of points I wanted to talk about. Uh, you know, uh, Cloud computing, right? So with cloud computing, you get broad network access. Let's take a bullet point. So when we say broad network access, so basically we talk about the thin and thick clients, basically. Okay. So we have thin clients which are actually processing remotely, like website or smartphones. You don't actually process your data on that particular device. Whereas the thick clients is all about local processing, like your laptop or your server or your computer, right? So you get access to broader network access. Then another one is on demand self-service. So the word is self-service here, right? Because it's like a paying guest, right? You leave somewhere, or you go and live somewhere like a paying guest. You just need to pay for that particular space and for the utensils, fridge, washing machines, or other services that cook or washing clothes and all. That's how at least paying guest works in India. So you just need to pay, and then you can use all these particular services. So similarly, in cloud computing, whatever the need is there for your company, you can just avail those service and you just pay for that. And you don't need to ask anybody to get that for you. You can do it by your own. That's a self service that we are talking about. Then we have rapid elasticity. Okay. So resources can be increased or released dynamically, right? So you can have certain logic in place. Let's say based on 70% or 80% of my current utilization, CPU utilization, I want more CPU power to be added automatically, right? So you don't even need to sit and click or add more nodes or more servers to your existing server. Automatically you can have that attached to your existing compute power, and at the end, let's say the computation or the CPU utilization or the storage utilization has been decreased, or your RAM consumption is decreased, automatically those nodes or those servers will be released automatically. So all these things also can be done in in cloud computing. That is that's what we were talking about, the spike, sudden spike, right? So that's where the rapid elasticity kind of a characteristic of the cloud computing will help you. So this is also called as scaling, and there are types of scaling: vertical and horizontal. So vertical scaling is basically like you have the same cluster or same server or same VM or same machine, right? All these things are nothing but similar computation I'm talking about, right? So let's say you have you have 2 GB of RAM in that, and let's say 30 GB of storage. Just for an example, I'm just giving. There is one VM, right? And you want to make it bigger, right? So what you can have is you can either make it 4 GB and with 60 GB. So you are basically upscaling, vertically upscaling your VM. So this is the same VM. This is the same VM I'm talking about. The same VM you actually increase the RAM and the storage for that. Right. This is called as vertical scaling. Horizontal scaling, on the other hand, sorry for my handwriting. Horizontal scaling, on the other hand, it's about creating a multiple replica of this horizontally. Okay, you are not actually touching. This is again 2 GB, this is again 2 GB, this is again 2 GB, this is 30 TB, GB, whatever, GB, 30 GB, and 30 GB. So basically you are creating multiple replicas horizontally, and that's how as a whole you are actually increasing your computation power, right? So that is all about the vertical and horizontal scaling, right? And the point is about the elasticity. So these uh, uh, quick question, which type of scaling is more recommended? What do you think? Anyone wants to try it out? Okay, somebody is saying vertical, somebody is saying horizontal, depends on requirement. Okay, okay, depends on the need. Okay, so very diplomatic, depending upon the need. No, I mean, most of the times, 90% of the time, you will see horizontal scaling is more beneficial or more recommended approach, because you don't need any downtime over here, right? Let's say you want to upgrade this particular VM to from 2 GB to 4 GB. Will you be able to do that without stopping this particular cluster or stopping this particular machine? No, you will have to stop this machine, attach one more some more computation power to that, and restart it again. That's where it's more recommended to have a horizontal scaling. We will see during the compute services that how we'll also see the demos, and we'll also see how automatically in action how these new machines are getting added. Okay, so for horizontal you generally don't need downtime, and that's where it is more recommended. I wouldn't say that it is always the case. Always the horizontal scaling is required, or you should be using, but uh, the more emphasize or the more advantageous out of these two is horizontal scaling. Okay, then the next one is the measured service. So basically, in measured service, you can have, what do I mean by that is there are two things. One is you can monitor the usage of your resource. Okay, so it's, and based on that you can make intelligent decisions also, and based on that you can understand your billing also. Okay, so let's say, yeah, how much VM you have used, how much storage you have used, how much computation power you have used for a particular month. You will get that in a bill. It is like a report that you can always get from. We'll see that, and from that you will be able to make more intelligent decisions at to save the cost at the and to add to that, in a measured service you can also have some concepts like quota. So let's say you have created, a developer has created some script, and that is creating, and that has some faulty logic in that. Let's say it is creating VM every 30 seconds, right? So what happens if you run that particular script? It will start creating VMs every 30 seconds, and you will end up creating a lot of VMs unnecessarily, with because there was nobody to monitor that, or maybe there was some faulty logic in that particular script, right? That's where something like quota is in place. You can have a quota for all these services. Let's say I can create only 10 VMs in my particular GCP project. So after 10 VMs, it will not allow to create more VMs, even though the permissions are in place, even though everything is in place. So you can have certain limits, I would say, right? Some threshold limits you can set, and all these things features you get with cloud computing. Most of the cloud computing, I'm talking about in general here, and we are still not only talking about GCP, but yeah. Then resource pooling. Resource pooling is again, uh, you know, resources can be pulled to a service to multitude of your customers. So depending upon your need, you can assign to this particular VM from this particular pool to the other pool, right? So you can create node pools to have different replicas of your nodes, right? So all these things are nothing but overall characteristics of all the cloud computing services. And then pay as you go, we already discussed, right? So you just get to you just get billed for whatever you basically consume. Let's say you use CPU or RAM just for the allocation time, the time for which you use those CPU power or the RAM, for that only you need to pay. For storage, whatever the GB or petabytes, terabytes of data that you store, that you need to pay for that particular storage system. And similarly for network, so the packet size or the number of the traffic which is going outside your GCP environment, that is only what you basically pay for, right? So these are some of the characteristics of the cloud computing. I hope that is clear. Any questions? When more horizontal, when performance, then vertical. Okay. Any advantage of vertical scaling over horizontal scaling? As Aman said, I don't see that is a very significant difference that you get in the performance if you go for the vertical. But yes, again, there is no networking because again, let's say it is noticeable difference or to be discussed. Basically, if you vertically scale this, right, you don't have another machine over here, you don't have any another machine, so everything happens within the same machine, and that's where you get better performance. But whereas you have multiple machines, if they want to communicate with each other for a data or something, right, that's where you need some networking to connect to each other, right? That's where some, and that will be so negligible, or you won't even feel that difference when it comes to cloud computing, so no major difference as such. It's always beneficial to go for the horizontal. Looking at the advantages that you get as compared to the vertical, it's negligible that the performance things, you won't even see those difference in performance. Okay, is quota manageable? Yes. Can it be changed anytime? Yes, Bharat. Not anytime. We'll see that. There is. I'll cover that as well. You can change the quota. You can request Google to change the quota for you. Some examples of resource pooling. So, resource pooling is similar to what I was talking about, right? So you can create a node pool. You can create, or you can say you can committed use. Okay, so it is called as committed use. So you can tell Google that I'll be using these many resources for a year, 1 year or 3 year. Okay, and they will give you some discounts. Okay, and you can always pull these resources from that uh, pool, and uh, you will get, what I can say, you will have um, what is the word, basically you will have more control, or Google will prefer you because you have committed for that particular number of resources. So that is the resource pooling that we are talking about. Okay. Though then we'll start with service models. Okay, so let's start with the service models. So service model is basically, somebody had asked, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. What is this service model is all about, right? So let me write when it comes to any particular uh, platform or any particular networking concept or any particular infrastructure, basically what are the different things that comes to our mind? Okay, so we can write it out here. One is the networking, which is very important. Another one is storage. We need some storage, we need some servers. Internally there is some virtualization takes place within the servers, right? Then we have OS, middlewares like drivers. Then we have runtimes like Python runtime, Java runtime, right? Then we have actual application that basically are like a website or any other application that we deploy. And then it will also generate some data, maybe based on the user base. It will create some data, right, that you need to process before you actually make them store somewhere, right? So you need storage to store the data, but you also have some data, maybe log data or user data or any any application oriented data, right? So these are the some of the building blocks of any infrastructure. If you think about any infrastructure, these are some of the things that you will always see, right? Now, depending upon what type of um, piece, okay, these are the basic building blocks. Let me building blocks for a system or environment. Okay, so what we are saying here is service model talks about categorization categorization of GCP services based on what you want to manage and what you want cloud provider to manage. Okay, so what do I mean by that is, let's say you have these many things, right? Let me just let me give you an example. Okay, so I have a good example to explain with. Okay, so let's say we create a pizza. Okay, let me take a table. Where is it? Insert. Okay. So what do you need for pizza? Oh, what happened? Sorry. Okay. So you need a dining table in on which you will eat, right? You need some drinks along with that. You need some electric or gas, right, to cook the pizza. You need oven. You need fire. I'm just writing some random requirements. You need a pizza dough as well. You need sauces, right? Then you need toppings. You need cheese, right? Let's say these are some of the requirements that we have for creating a pizza, right? Now, depending upon what or how you want to create a pizza, how you want to prepare the pizza, these are all the requirements that you will surely need, right? So now let's say if you are creating it homemade, right? So you will create everything homemade. You will create cheese on your own. You will create your own toppings you will bring. You will create the sauces also by your own. Okay. We are not buying it from anywhere. You are just taking care of everything by your own. Okay. This is nothing but homemade. Okay. Now let me just copy. Let me try pasting it again here. Okay. Now what if I tell you that you can go to the supermarket, okay, and you can bring these things, okay, you can bring these things from outside, okay, so you can go to supermarket and you can bring these things readily available, and then rest of the things you can take care of at your home, right? That is one more way of looking at it, right? So some of the things are taken care externally by someone else, and some of them you are taking care, right? Then another one is, let's copy another. What you can do is, you don't need the let's say headache of all these, or the pain of all these things, or sorry, yeah, you don't need the pain of pizza, dove, sauces, toppings, cheese, not even fire, oven, gas as well, right? You're just you want to enjoy the pizza with the drinks on a dining table. That's where you can go and directly use takeaway facility, right? So you can go to some restaurant, ask them for a pizza. You can get your drinks and your table on your own at your home, right? You are not actually cooking the pizza, you're just enjoying the pizza directly, but at your home, right? That is nothing but the one another way to look at that, right? Another one is, basically everything is taken care. So dining table is taken care by someone else, drinks are taken care by someone else, and you are rest of the things are also taken care by someone else. That is nothing but your restaurant, right? So you go to restaurant and everything will be taken care. You will be using their forks, their cutleries and their tables, everything, right? So depending upon what do you want to manage and what you want others to manage, you have different categorization, right? Simple. Similarly, GCP talks about different service models. Those are, one is on premise. Okay, so this is not GCP related, but this is on premise. Then you have then you have second one as infrastructure, infra as service. Okay, it is also called as IaaS. Then you have platform as service, PaaS, and then you have software as service, SaaS. Okay, there are tons of others also created by people. Okay, like function as a service, developer as a service, container as a service. There are tons of other, but these are the main ones. Okay, so now let's convert the same example. Let's try to convert the same example with on-premise. Okay, let me just check whether if I'm able to copy this here and will it go. No, it's not going. So let me write it. Okay, so we are talking about application, then we have data, then we have runtime, then we have middleware, right? We had operating system, then we have virtualization, we need servers, storage, networking, right? All these things. If so, what does on-premise talks about? This particular service model on-premise is, this is all on-premise. So if you are taking care of everything, if you want to take care of everything, you want to take care of the networking, their wirings, their net routers, right? IP address allocations, everything you are taking care by your own, then that is your on-premise network, right? Or on-premise environment, or on-premise setup, right? You are taking care of the storage, you are taking care of the servers, you are taking care of the virtualizations, you are deciding your OS, their patches, their upgrades, everything is taken care by you, right? Maybe you means you have some teams or anything, something like that, to take care of all these things. You also have applications to host on that, and it generates some data, so that is also with you. And you have decided to, let's say, use Python runtime, Java runtime, or any other Go, Scala, whatever runtimes that you want. You can select those runtimes and manage everything by your own. That is what the on-premise infrastructure looks like. Okay, so now I'll create another category where the networking, storage, servers, and virtualization, these things will be taken care by the GCP for you, or any other cloud vendor, right, or cloud provider, I would say, right. This is nothing but IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So basically, important infrastructure concepts are taken care by your cloud provider, and you are only responsible to manage rest of the remaining pieces. Okay, that is about the infrastructure as a service. A simple example is creating a VM. So when you create a VM, you select which OS you want: a Windows OS, you want Linux OS, or you want any other types of OS, Linux flavors on that. You select what type of runtimes you want, what type of applications. Let's say you want to uh, install what type of softwares, or whatever the application that you have developed, so that you develop and you manage on that particular VM. But underlying the networking, storage, servers, and its virtualizations, all these things will be taken care by your the cloud provider. Okay, is that clear? Similarly, another one is where there are some more things will be taken care by your cloud providers, and that will be called as platform as a service. Okay, platform as a service, one of the example is uh, in AWS Lambda, or in GCP we have other services: App Engine, CDN, let's say Citrix. You might have used Citrix applications, right? So everything is taken care by your cloud provider, right? And you are only responsible for your actual application and its data generated, the generated data, whatever data is generated by your application, that you have to manage by your own, right? That's your responsibility. It's all about the responsibility, who wants to do what, right? So some of the examples I told you, right? App Engine and all, right? App Engine, and then Citrix and Lambda, Cloud Function in GCP. All these things are nothing but platform as a service. Then the next one is software as a service, in which everything is taken care by your cloud provider. Simple example is Gmail, or your Microsoft Office 365, right? Or Slack, or WhatsApp, whatever. You are not controlling anything. You are basically just using that. You are just installing it, and you are just using it. Even your emails and everything is lying with the your cloud provider. Let's say you're using Gmail, so your all the emails are with Google, right? You're just using it from your app. So your application development, the actual Gmail app development, the data generated by the app, and all the other remaining pieces on which the Gmail servers are hosted, and everything. Say, all these things, virtualization, server, storage, everything is taken care by Google for you, right? So one of the cloud provider again. So you are just using that as software as a service directly. So it is similar to what I just wanted to give you an example of pizza, and we just discussed how GCP service models are categorized. So now, depending upon different services, these are either categorized into these three, right? Because we are talking about the uh, we're talking about the cloud provider, right? So on premise is out of the question here. I just explained you, because in on premise you need to take care of everything, whereas for the cloud providers, depending upon the service that you choose, it will either fall under one of these category. Virtualization, Mina, is nothing but let's say you must have heard dual core processor, core i3 processor, i7 processor, right? So internally, your even though you have let's say 8 GB of RAM, right? It's not using 8 GB of RAM simply for a particular program, right? It's basically being shared by your CPU cores, right? So that's what is the virtualization. Okay, it's underlying concepts of computer networking, right? I mean, in a nutshell, I can tell you. You can Google that more if you want to understand what is virtualization, right? No, virtualization and virtual machines are different things. Virtual machines is basically, it's called as virtual because you don't see that machine, isn't it? You don't have this machine with you. That's why it is called as virtual machine, but it is a machine. Virtualization is basically a computer fundamental concept which is being used by uh, your CPU, right? Your CPU power is basically have multiple threads under that, and different threads do parallel or the multi-processing for you, right? So that's what is being done by the virtualization concept. Okay. Let's say if Diwali, Amazon feels a lot of pressure, but other webs, Amazon websites are fine as a solution. They can vertical. Okay, it's about the vertical and horizontal, right? Okay. Let me just read it out in a minute. Let's say if during Diwali, Amazon India feels a lot of pressure, but other Amazon sites are fine. As a solution, they can go for vertical scaling for India servers or horizontal as well by allocating other underutilized across the world. Is understanding correct? Okay, so you're mixing two things, Shrey. You're mixing the actual application, the Amazon India versus Amazon US, let's say, with your actual servers, right? Don't mix it like that. Applications are simply different, right? You won't find the same products on Amazon US which are there on Amazon India, and the vice versa, right? So don't mix the applications, but the underlying, yes, you're correct that the underlying resources that was being used by let's say Amazon US servers, let's say it was needing 1000 VMs, and since there is no much load on Amazon US, some of the resources can automatically get released from Amazon US servers, and those same VMs can be used by Amazon India. Yes, that is correct. That is possible, and it's again depend. As long as you are on Amazon, it is possible, but you don't guarantee that those same VMs will be used here because it's just virtual, right? So basically, you're talking about um, the resource pulling from one place to another, but the resource might not be the exact same resource, right? You will get that resource from some other pool as well. That's possible. Okay, then let's talk about the deployment models quickly. So deployment model talks about when to use which type of cloud. Okay, so deployment, we can also say types of cloud. Depending upon the use case, maybe your company will decide to go for a particular deployment model. The deployment model is, let me just write the different types of models. The public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. There are some others as well, community cloud, okay, and multi-cloud, okay, but the major ones are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, okay. So public cloud you already might be already aware about. um, let's understand the public cloud. GCP is again a public cloud, right? Amazon AWS is a public cloud. Azure, Microsoft Azure is a public cloud, right? Alibaba, IBM cloud, Oracle cloud, these are some of the examples of the public cloud, okay. So what happens essentially here is I'm sorry. Sorry guys. So what happens in public cloud is they have the data centers, okay. So let's create a data center example. Okay, so they have something called as data center, in which they have multiple servers. Okay, I'll show you. I have an image of data center internally, how it looks. Okay. They have huge racks of the CPUs, RAMs, all these things. They are internally attached with some wires, networking cables, and everything, right? But what happens? We need to understand in how public cloud works is this particular data center is a shared one. It's a shared data center. Basically, what I mean to say is, let's say Meena, right? Meena has a project. She is working on a project. Shiva is working on a project. Let me take some names. Shrey is working on another project, right? They all can have their VMs created under the same rack, right? They can have Shiva is also having here, or Shrey is also having here. Maybe there is another server on the same rack which is being used by someone else, maybe Bharat, right? I'm taking from the question box the names. Okay, so what essentially we are trying to understand is different people or different companies. Bharat has his own company, Meena has her own company, Shiva and Shreya has their own other company, right? So all these resources can get created on the same data center or same racks. Okay, racks is nothing but you can say a collection of servers or CPUs or whatever computation, right? So basically, on these racks, you are sharing the resources. You don't know with whom, right? But uh, cloud provider shares that particular rack with other projects as well. I mean, you don't typically you can't access the VMs of the other projects, of course, but if you think from a, cloud provider perspective on their data center, you don't have access to data center, of course, right? This is very secretive place. Even Google employees cannot go to the Google data centers. Okay, there are only certain people who manages the data centers. They can only go to the data center and they can only access these particular data center racks, right? But I mean, you don't get access to each other's resources, of course, but if you think from a Google perspective, they are sitting on the same rack. Maybe your VMs are your VM and my VM are sitting on the same rack on one of the Google data center. That can happen, right? So that is nothing but you're sharing the resources, or the sharing the resources, or the sharing the racks, or the sharing the data centers with other companies as well. That is nothing but your public cloud is all about. Okay, you get a UI. I mean, we will come to the Google console and everything. We'll understand those things. But from the underlying perspective, your resources are shared. Okay. Then examples I've already. I'm not writing it over here. Okay. So or maybe let me just write AWS and Azure, Oracle Cloud. Okay. Then private. What is private cloud? Private cloud is let me give you an example again. That way it will be clear. So everyone knows TCS. Let's say TCS is one of the IT company of Tata, right? Tata Group. They also have Range Rover, right? It's a car manufacturing company, Range Rover. It's again a part of Tata. Then you also have Air India. They recently acquired Air India also, right? So all of them are part of Tata Group. I mean, just for an example, okay? I'm not saying that this is the case, but just for an example, I'm telling, right? So let's say Range Rover is in London, Air India, they have the cluster in Delhi, let's say, right? And this is in, let's say, in Pune, right? So what essentially is happening is they are a part of the same group, right? And that's where they decided to create a private cloud. They don't want their data to share with anyone else. Okay, this generally happens for, I mean, the private clouds are generally being adopted by government bodies. Okay, like I'll give you one example as well, but this is just an example I'm talking about, hypothetical example. So let's say there is a company, right? Flipkart. Flipkart. Okay. So will Flipkart will be able to use the cloud which was created by Tata Group? Of course not, right? Because Flipkart is a is it's not a part of Tata Group. They will not allow Flipkart to use their resources. We are not talking about using public cloud here. These people have their own private cloud. Okay, it's its own private cloud. So all these resources resides with them. Okay, now let's say Flipkart is acquired by Tata. Let's call it as Tata Cart or something, right? Now will that be, now after this acquisition, of course it will be able to use, let's say this is in Bangalore, right? This is in Bangalore. Now Tata Cart application can use the resources of this particular cloud, right? That's how, I mean, as a group or as a company, you actually creating your own infrastructure, and you are leveraging your multiple subsidiaries to use that particular cloud. Okay, so that's nothing but your private cloud. One of the example is Indian Railway System. It's a very huge company, and they have something called as Railtel. You might have seen, also called as Rail Cloud, I think. So they have their own private cloud. They don't want this. This generally happens with the government bodies. Tata Group is just one example I gave you, but generally government companies will be adopting private cloud because they don't want their data to be exposed or to be residing on any public cloud. Okay, it can get exploited. Of course, public clouds are also secured, but some of the companies, some of the generally the government companies, they don't want their data to be exposed to uh, any other premise or any other infrastructure. That's where this private cloud concept is being adopted by them, right? This is one of the example. Then again, another one is hybrid cloud, right? So hybrid cloud, as the name suggests, right, it's a combination of private plus public. So what happens is, let's say a company is previously using private cloud, and for certain type of workload, let's say either just for a less critical type of workload, they want to use public cloud because public cloud is a way cheaper, right? They don't want that particular headache to be with them, and since the data is not that critical, maybe with time or the value of that data is not that critical, then such workloads they can use on the public cloud. So I can say non critical workloads on public cloud, critical workloads they keep it with them on private cloud. They can also, this is one of the way they can, I mean, companies can use the combination. Another way is data always sit on private cloud. They don't want to expose their data, but all the workloads, computation, data processing, I would say data processing happens on public cloud. Okay, so this is also one of the way in which this particular hybrid cloud can be adopted, right? So this is one of the example. Then since we are okay, these are the main three types of deployment models. Then we also have, I was talking about community cloud, right? Community cloud is basically focused focuses on specific set of customers. Like, let's say, um, what I can say, just an example. Okay, when I joined my college, right, in the first, I mean, I opted for to stay in hostels. So what they used to do is, they in the first year, because the people, and I mean the students are very new, they don't know about the culture, the new culture of the college. They are far from home, they feel homesickness and all these things, right? So what they used to do, my college used to club the students from similar geographical region to similar rooms. Maybe uh, I was from Maharashtra, so people from Maharashtra, they used to provide. I mean, they used to club them and give it. They used to allocate a room. Similarly, from other regions, they used to provide. They used to club the people from different. Um, from that particular respective area or geographical locality, culture, right? Because they might have similar eating habits, their cultures, or they understand each other better, right? So it was very easy to get gel up with such kind of people, right? Similarly, for the similar type of customers, if you want multiple companies, these are typically different companies, but they cater the similar set of customers. Let's say a best example is a US based cloud. Okay, it's developed by IBM. um, IBM, what is it? Soft layer, some soft layer cloud. Okay, it's basically being used by US federal agencies like CIA or FBI, right? Because if you see, CIA and FBI are different government bodies, right? In US, but their customer or the data on which they actually work is all about the crime, right? So um, typically the data that they actually host is similar. That is nothing but your community cloud. Or if I need to give you another example, let's say Zomato or Swiggy, right? They can come together and go to the public cloud and ask them for a public particular community cloud. Okay, so what will happen is public cloud providers will give them for a discounted rate, because now uh, y- since it's a bigger commitment that you are doing to a public cloud, they will give you a good benefits, and then those particular resources can be shared based on their whatever agreements that they make, right? So they can use those particular cloud resources. So that's all about the community cloud. Okay, then another one is multi-cloud. In multi-cloud, it is basically multiple public clouds. So community cloud was all about the multiple companies catering the same type of customers, whereas in multi-cloud, it's the same company using multiple public clouds. Okay. So basically, like just an example, HSBC Bank, right? So let's say, I mean, again, a hypothetical example. They want to use storage of AWS, right? Let's say it is cheaper in AWS, so they want to use the storage. They want to store their data in AWS, so they will use S3, which is again a storage system um, for storing the data. Let's say for big data or machine learning or big data processing, they want this is more matured in GCP, so they will go for GCP for data processing. Okay. Similarly, for their internal purposes like their office tools, like Office 365 and everything, and other, let's say for other use cases, they will use Microsoft Azure, right? So one single company using multiple public clouds for different purposes is nothing but your multi-cloud scenario. So these are some major deployment models. Depending upon the use case of your company, and their goals, right? So you can choose to have different type of uh, deployment model. Okay, so any questions up until here, or let me just you can post your questions meanwhile. I was just trying to use discuss about the use cases, when to use what. Okay, so on premise is one of them, private, multi cloud, and hybrid. Public cloud we all know, because that's where we saw some characteristics and some of the advantages. It is cheaper and all those things, right? But when will we go for the other ones, right? When we actually tend to use the other deployment models that I just wanted to cover. So basically, in on-premise, right? When we will go for on-premise, when you should go for the on-premise, you should not go for the cloud. Let's say why you will go for the on-premise. So if you want the entire control of your infrastructure, okay, so control on your infrastructure, you don't want to give that control to anybody else. You don't want anybody else to manage. That's where the first thing you will go for the on-premise. And another one is there are some compliance issues or rules by your country. There are some countries uh, who actually do not want their data to be exposed to some other the other world, right? So other part of the world. So that's where some compliance rules of your company that you have to abide, right? So that's where you can go for the on-premise infrastructure. That is one use case for the on-premise infrastructure. Private is generally, I told you, right? The government bodies. Basically, the difference between the on-premise and private is itself is a cloud. Okay, your infrastructure doesn't sit on your premises, right? You don't see those clusters in private cloud. It's being private cloud is again is created as a on cloud using the with the help of some third party or some other public cloud providers help. Okay, so let's say an example of private cloud, you will approach to the public cloud providers to set up your private cloud, and then you will either use some third party to manage them. But the actual difference between on-premise infrastructure versus the private cloud is you have more control on your data, of course, but the particular cloud resources are in cloud for private cloud, whereas in on-premise the infrastructure resources are within your premises. You have your own setup, your own cluster rooms or server rooms with you in case of on-premise, whereas in private those are again cloud based. In multi-cloud, when will you go for the multi-cloud? Again, you if you want to cover more geographic areas, right? Let's say um, GCP does not provide a service in, let's say, XYZ region, but AWS provides, right? So that's where you can go for the AWS for that to cover that particular geographical area, right? And for rest of the area you can go for the GCP, right? So similarly you will have multiple different, that is one use case example I'm telling you. Similarly, you can have increased availability of your resources, reduce the latency by covering multiple geographical regions, right? Or you can split the workloads, as I told here, right? You can split the workload, maybe storage on one, processing on another, right? So similarly like that. And some of the times it happens that multiple companies get merged together, right? So let's say one company was using GCP, another company was using AWS, and the second company got merged into the first one. So it automatically creates a multi-cloud kind of an environment for them to work as a one giant company after acquisition, right? So that is one more example of multi-cloud. Hybrid cloud, as I told you, right? It's a mixture of private and public cloud. So that happens, generally, what is it called? It's called as cloud bursting. Okay. Cloud bursting is like, my company is using private cloud, okay, but for a peak demand, okay, peak demands, I want to use public cloud just for a certain time. I want to use public cloud because it is very cheap as compared to private cloud. So that's where I want to go for the only for the peak demands. I want to use public cloud. That's one use case where hybrid scenario you can see. And data protection, again, let's say you want to host your application on public cloud, but the actual data will always sit on your private cloud, right? So that's again we have seen in while discussing about this. So like app resides on public cloud, but data resides on private, right? Similarly, that is one more use case where a hybrid cloud can take place. So let me take questions and then let's break for 5 more minutes. One second. Your health is not good. Please take leave. Constantly coughing is. Oh yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm pretty fine right now. But because I'm continuously talking, right? So that's where it's a little coughing that I'm getting. Um, can you please explain private and hybrid cloud by system architecture? I mean, how machines will assign to this kind of customer. So private cloud and hybrid cloud. So private cloud, as I told you, right? I mean, I can't write the system architecture right now. The private cloud you can see right here as an example, right? So the private cloud will be created with the help of the public cloud providers only. Okay, so these government companies will reach out to the public cloud providers. Okay, they will ask us to ask them to set up the private cloud for them. Once it is in place, now they will have these features like resource pooling or on demand, uh, because they will have multiple projects, right? So depending upon the resources, they will be shared across that particular project within the private cloud premise, right? But it will be limited to that particular company's use only, right? That is nothing but your private cloud. Hybrid cloud is nothing but you are having a private cloud with you in your company, but for certain workloads you opt to use the public cloud, maybe AWS, Amazon, Azure, anything, right? That's where you can go for the hybrid one. I mean, what else? System level structure. I mean, this is what best I can explain, right? We don't want to go into the system level architecture or structure like that. And I also explained the use case when to use, when people or when companies go for that, right? Mm, Shreya, we get a lot of phone calls from banks, okay, restaurants, insurance companies for their products. So I assume that they have common. Uh, uh, yes, that is again one good example that uh, the numbers that, but generally it doesn't happen that, no, I mean, it's not that the customer database is same for restaurants, insurances, and banks, okay? But I think it is called as data. There is some terminology, okay? They sell your data, okay? Because there are no good data regulation laws in that particular country. Let's say in India, so they are, let's say you sign up for any particular company or for any website, sorry. So they are
it's legal that they can sell your data, and there is no certain law on these companies, so that's why they provide that data to some other company, and that's where they get that data and they call you. It's not that they are having the same database. Okay, so it's not that case. So which one can access by paying money. This will be an example of public cloud. No, I mean public cloud is a cloud in on which you can host your infrastructure, right? The cloud providers will not take money and sell your data for sure. Okay, they want to be in business for a longer term. This is the new era that is coming, right? Cloud computing. So it's not that cloud providers are selling that data. Basically the companies are selling the data for the customers. So Samshay says, so the private cloud infra resides in cloud provider data center. In cloud provider data centers of their own company, not in the public cloud providers data center. Okay, so the data centers that we are talking about or we have seen, right, it will be private to them. Okay, so it's not that it will be shared by in case similar case that I discussed in public cloud, right? So it will not be the case in case of private cloud. It will be created on the cloud, but it will be just accessible only by that particular company with which that private cloud is owned by them, right? So that's the case. In terms of multi-cloud, GCP have all those features itself. Sorry, Bharat, I did not get your question. In terms of multi-cloud, GCP have all that those features itself. Sorry, Bharat, if you can post your question again, that will be clear to me. Can you please provide an example for hybrid? Uh, so Ghana, I gave you an example of hybrid, right? Okay, not an example I give you, but this is again not being used. Uh, you know, I would say not being used by a lot of companies, but this is a deployment model when it can come. Okay, so it can. I don't have the perfect example that this company because they don't. I mean, I have not seen the hybrid cloud by my own with the companies with which I have worked. Because see, let's say if I have not worked on let's say XYZ company, I cannot know their architecture, right? So this is the model that is in place. So companies, let's say I have an XYZ company and I have, so I can suggest as an architect, I can suggest that we can go for the hybrid cloud, or I can go for the multi-cloud, right? But since I have not used or I have not worked with any such use case based company, I cannot tell the name of or an example or a name of the company which is using the hybrid cloud, right? So, but it is just a deployment model. Okay, then I hope you got my point. Okay, perfect. So let's take a 5 minutes of break again, and let's be back. And 9:30 we'll start. Okay, see you. Yeah. Okay, let's start by 9:30. Meanwhile, let's now talk about GCP and why GCP. Some of the features of GCP we'll talk about. Okay, so it's 9:30. Let's resume back. So now let me just talk about GCP now. I mean, till now we were discussing about service models or deployment models or overall the features of cloud computing, right? So these were basically the common, cloud providing, cloud computing related concepts. But now moving forward, we'll be talking more about the GCP now. So GCP, it is not just a cloud provider, okay? It is an ecosystem, okay? What I mean by this particular statement is they have it. I mean, GCP is as a cloud provider, they provide you a particular ecosystem. They provide you infrastructure, but their ecosystem is not just for the public use, it is for their internal purpose also. So what I mean by that is same infrastructure that they are giving you on rent, okay, it's being used by Google also, okay. So they have their own internal products, like they have Google Maps, they have YouTube, they have Gmail, right? So, or Google search engine, right? All these are their popular products. They use the same infrastructure, like, I mean, GCP infrastructure for their internal products also. It's not that they have some other infrastructure and for the public cloud they have their another infrastructure, right? It's the same infrastructure that they use for their internal products also, and the same platform they open for the public use also, called as Google Cloud Platform, right? So that gives you some kind of a sense that it's a trustworthy and it's a ecosystem, entire ecosystem, where Google and us both are using the same infrastructure, right? It's not a differentiation per se, right? Another one is their open source contribution. If you see Google's research and development around different areas, different white papers, there are different frameworks that they have developed, they have given or they have contributed that to open source, so that people can freely use it, or people can freely customize it, or people can create their own uh, uh, another frameworks out of this, okay. One of the example is, I don't know if all of you or any of you have knowledge about MapReduce framework, right? If you are coming from a big data background, MapReduce is one of the framework that is a pioneer for Hadoop ecosystem, right? Hadoop is essentially based on the MapReduce framework. MapReduce framework was designed and developed by Google, okay, and then they made it open source, and Hadoop is again open source, and Hadoop was based on the MapReduce. Similarly, there is another file system called as Google File System. This was another white papers. This was it's distributed file system concept, okay. So basically you don't need to store your data at single place, whereas, I mean, it's logically broken down into chunks of data, and that chunks of data will be stored differently and in on a different distributed file system. Now it is popular in all the cloud providers, but the essentially the white papers, the first white papers that came on this distributed file system was GFS, the Google file system. Okay, as later on it was adopted as HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system. Also, it's adopted by cloud storage, S3, Azure, right? So all these are nothing but distributed. They don't store that particular file at single place. They distribute it. It logically breaks down into multiple chunks of data, and then it's logically connected. You don't see that, but underlying it is like that, right? So GFS is again one more contribution to open source by Google. Then there is Bigtable. Just understand what I'm talking about. It's not. I mean, this is just a background. White Bigtable is again a NoSQL database. So there was this NoSQL database was was no such concept earlier. Bigtable white papers came with this particular concept of NoSQL database, and then going forward, multiple other like MongoDB, Cassandra, all these NoSQL database were come into picture using these white papers. This is being used by even Gmail, Google search engine, Google Maps. So today it's being used by these even, and you must be seeing the performance of these tools, right? So underlying infrastructure is on Bigtable. So data sits in the Bigtable. Then Kubernetes. This is again one more terminology you might be hearing nowadays. Kubernetes. Kubernetes is again an open source orchestration, um, container orchestration engine developed by Google. It was given to open source community, and multiple other cloud providers have their own customized version of Kubernetes. Similarly, Google also has their own customized version of it called as Google Kubernetes engine, right? But Kubernetes as a again framework, this was originally developed by Google, right? Similarly, there is one more called as Dremel. Dremel is an execution engine. If you're coming from Hadoop background, you must have heard about Hayu or Big Data Spark, Apache Spark, right? Similarly, Dremel is one more execution engine. It was introduced by Google, and internally it is being used in BigQuery. BigQuery is one of the service of Google Cloud. So they use it Dremel as a execution engine underlying. When you fire a query, underlying execution engine is Dremel. Okay. So what I mean by telling all these contributions to open source community by Google is basically when a company gives so much to open source for free, I mean, I at least personally have a trust in them that this research and development team of this particular company is very, matured. They have a lot of things to donate, uh, and they have a lot of things to, have that liberty to, give it to open source community to make people's life easier, right? So the first thing that I personally like is the trust that people have in Google, right? So let's say just an example I'm telling, trust and reliability, right? So both of these things comes hand in hand. So just for an example I was talking about, right? So let's say when you check an internet connection, what most of the people hit, they hit the Google page, right? They check the Google is up or not. So essentially Google is not an internet, right? So but 90% of the people hit Google's page to check the internet connection. What does that mean? That proves that Google cannot go down at any point of time, right? So just an example I'm giving you. Similarly, YouTube, right? There are billions of people using YouTube every now and then. We're not just watching the contents on YouTube. People are creating the contents. So just imagine how big would the data would be with Google, if you can imagine, right? So YouTube will have so much huge data to store, and still you get flawless experience on YouTube, right? So I mean, at least I have not seen YouTube being crashed, right? So that's how my trust and reliability lies with the Google service at any point of time, right? So the point, trust and reliability I was talking about, is all around this, right? Then the cost effectiveness. Okay, so there are tons of different concepts that Google came with for having a cost effective solution of the public cloud, right? Google, of course, is a latecomer in public cloud, right? AWS was the first one, then Azure came, then Google Cloud came in picture. Google Cloud being a latecomers, but they still introduce some concepts like per second billing. What do I mean by per second billing? So you might have seen in telecom industries, right? Earlier we used to get charged per minute, right? When we used to call our friends or family members, right? We used to get charged for the entire minute. So if you talk for 10 seconds, you will charge, you will be charged for 1 minute, entire minute, right? But later on, I think Docomo, Tata Docomo or someone came with per second billing, and then it was adopted by all the other telecom providers also, right? So if you talk for 10 seconds, you will get charged only for 10 seconds, right? Similarly, in cloud provider, Google Cloud came with a per second billing. So let's say you have a VM running for let's say 2 minutes and 10 seconds, right? So you will be charged for only 60, 120 and 130 seconds, right? But the other cloud providers charge you for the entire 3 minutes. I mean, this is very simple, or you might see it very simple, or but when it comes to thousands of VMs for a big giant companies, right? It's a pretty drastic difference in the bill that you will see. Okay, with per second billing. So that's the that is the thing. Then another one is pre-book the servers. So you can pre-book the servers. So it's like called as commitment. So it's called as commitment. So you can commit for 1 year, 3 year like that, right? And you get discount on the resources that you can uh, uh, you know avail. Then depending, I would say storage class. So you won't understand all these concepts in the first session itself. If you are already coming from some background, you will understand for sure. But if you are fresh to the cloud computing concepts, not all the concepts will make sense in the first session itself. But be with me. We will be covering all these in different modules, right? So in storage, we have different types of classes like normal storage, cold line storage, right? So or nearline storage. So depending upon the different type of storage you select, you will get charged differently, and you will get discounts also. Okay, then discount on sustained use. So let's say you use a VM, you have created a VM, and that VM is up and running for more than 20-25 days. Automatically you won't get charge for the entire month. There will be some 5%, 10% discount depending upon your machine type, your RAM or whatever. We will see that also in compute engine module. But just understand that the longer you use a particular resource, you will get a more discount, right? Then there are different subscription plans. You can avail different subscription plans with Google Cloud, and that way they will suggest you different things as well. Then you also have something called as pricing calculator. So before you actually decide or directly create a particular resource, let's say you create a VM or you create a bucket, storage bucket, right? What is the you can set the particular types of compute options, right? You can select the regions in which you want. You can uh, select different, what I can say, the CPU power or the RAM, all these things you can select and check in this calculator that what will be my estimated cost per month, right? Before you actually create a resource, right? You can see this using this calculator. So depending upon that, uh, for a given project, let's say you can imagine that, okay, I want to process 30 GB of data every day. So what will be my particular VM? How many VMs I will need? How many storage I will need? Based on that, you can some just make some estimates, and your bills will no longer be surprise for you. Okay, so the pricing calculator will help you to estimate the billing. And then finally, I think recommendation, right? So Google also has some recommendation engine. So on the Google's console page, it will recommend you. Okay, so it will recommend something like this particular VM is up and running for last 10 days, right? And it's not being used. So you can either stop it, or in another way, let's say you have a VM running for 10 days and it is always loaded, right? So it will either suggest you to upscale that as well, right? So you can increase the RAM so that you can I mean, in both the ways it will recommend some of the recommendations. um, and but for, I think for that you need to have your resource up and running for at least 24 hours, and based on that pattern of workload it will suggest. So you can have some cost effective solutions on that as well, using this recommendation engines. Then private global fiber connectivity. So I'll share you one link. Okay, this is one of the YouTube video in which they tell you how Google's fiber optic network is spread across the entire globe, right? So it's a undersea, under water fiber optics network that they have, and that will explain you how quick responses that you get using their fiber optics connectivity, right? So I'll share you one link of the YouTube video. Just go and check it out after the class. So basically, what I mean to talk about this point is they have a private fiber connectivity. They are not using any other service providers, internet service providers for their connectivity. They have their own, fiber optics network connectivity in entire globe. Okay, then highly scalable. So it can easily scale down and scale up based on your needs. So let's say there is a high demand, automatically you can add new servers, and based on the now the demand is gone down, automatically those resources will be released, and based on that only you will get charged for your projects. Then another one is custom machine types. Okay, so these are some of the features of GCP that we are talking about here. Okay, some of the GCP features that we're talking about. Okay, so custom machine type, this is only available with Google Cloud as per my knowledge. So machine type is like, let's say you want 2 GB of machine, 2 GB of RAM on a machine, or 4 GB of RAM on a machine, and then 8 GB of RAM on your machine, right? But let's say uh, a particular machine, these machine types are already predefined. You can simply select from when you create a particular machine, right, you get to choose on the console that okay, I want 4 GB of RAM for my machine, and I hit create, it will create a machine for you, right? What do I mean by custom machine type is, if that particular machine type is not specified on Google's portal, I mean the Google's console, right? You can still have a customized machine type. You can create your own. You can simply even select number of cores or no, RAM memory in GB for your machine, and Google will allocate that particular resource capacity for your machine, right? Even though it is not uh, present. So let's say you don't want to spend, why you want 8 GB of RAM, if 6 GB of RAM is sufficient for you, right? But if 6 GB of RAM option is not available, you can still avail custom machine type option, and you can get that respective customized machine type created for you, right? So that's the point. Then they also have a good support for IoT devices. Okay, so data analytics and big data, I mean big data processing. So this is Google Cloud is very well known for their matured data processing frameworks. They have tons of big data processing frameworks. Also they have a lot of AI models pre-built in. Okay, so with the big data, you can train these AI models and make more, better decisions for your business. Okay, and they also have matured API support. So whatever you do, you have the APIs for that. Let's say you want to create a VM from a Python code, you can have API for that. You can, if you want to stop a particular VM, you have API for that. You want to create a particular data pro cluster, you have a API for that, right? So everything is, whatever you do from the UI, you can simply do it from the programmatical way using the APIs as well. Okay, and it's very matured. Google has very good documentation on each of these APIs also. We'll see one of them in the demo. We'll create some VM also. Okay, then serverless and non-serverless, then managed, right? So these three terminologies we'll see. Serverless is nothing but some of the services are such a way that you don't see any cluster. Okay, you just need to write your code and submit that as a job just with a command, right? And automatically behind the scene, just for that particular job, a resource will be automatically created, and once that job is over, that particular resource will also get deleted. So you don't need to worry about resource allocation, or forgetting about deleting the resource. Let's say you created a VM and you did not run anything on that, and you will still get charged for it because it's up and running, right? Google has allocated that particular resource for you, right? So serverless is on the other side, will create the resource only during that particular job is running, right? So only for that job allocation, resource will be allocated. Automatically it will be deallocated, that resource will be gone once that job is over, right? So that is nothing but serverless. We will see serverless also. Non-serverless is again simple, like you create a cluster, or you create a server, or you create a simple VM. It will be up and running all the time until you personally delete that, right? So you can choose different services based on your use case or your need. Managed is nothing but, let's say you have a VM, let's say you have a cluster or anything else, you and you have a website hosted on that, right? So uh, you don't even have to bring that particular VM down, or you don't have to shut it down if you want to upgrade something, if you want to patch something, right? In general cases, when you patch a particular machine, right, you have to restart your web application. you don't even need to do that as well here, right? Because everything will be managed and automatically behind the scene Google Cloud will do the patching upgrades, or all the other stuff that they do in the background, right? So you don't see anything different when it comes to the infrastructure, right? So data replication, backups, and everything will be taken care automatically. That is the entire terminology for all these features is called as managed service, right? Whenever you see a managed service, just understand that Google Cloud will take care of all these backup, replications, their patching, upgradations, everything will be taken care by Google for you. Okay, so just understand this by the term called as managed. So let me just check the questions, and after that, we'll see a free tier account, how to create a free tier Google Cloud account, uh, and then that will be your homework for today. But just before that, let me just check the questions. You took an example, Shrey says, you took an example of Zomato, Swiggy in your session. If they want to have a common DB for user experience, which both of them can use, this will be the example of community cloud. Exactly, yes, that's what I'm talking about. They will have their own way of processing that particular data, but they can share the data if they want, and they can share, basically they don't want, I mean, generally the data is not shared at all in community cloud, but the resources underlying will be shared. Okay, so let's say they committed, Zomato and Swiggy together committed to Google Cloud that we want 1000 VMs of space of 4 GB each, right? So 400 or 1000, right? So 4000 GB of CPU power will be allocated to these two companies, and internally Zomato and Swiggy can have another agreement that okay, Zomato will use 60% of the resources, and Swiggy can have 40% of the usages of the resource usage, right? So similarly, some agreements would be there, and they will be using those resources internally. Okay, hybrid, by taking an example in transportation sector for company hybrid. Okay, so private jet and commercial planes. Yes, that can be an example, but generally the hybrid is comes with a private cloud, right? I mean, private jet can be a private company as well, or it can be a government company also, right? So uh, don't confuse private jets and commercial planes with private cloud and public cloud. Okay, just to be clear on the same page. Would you be covering Hadoop also in the course? Kindly suggest. No, Muthu. Hadoop. This is not a Hadoop class. I'm just telling you because if you guys are having, anyone has having Hadoop background, some of the tools like big data analytic tools will make more sense for them. They will understand it easily. That's why I just said Hadoop. And during the open source contribution, since Google also has contributed to Hadoop ecosystem, I just added that MapReduce framework, GFS, SDFS, all those terminologies, but will not be covering Hadoop. Okay. Search word replaced by Google it. Yes, search is replaced by Google it now. Correct. Um, Google has made an case on reliability and SLA by running its own service successfully on their platform. Yeah. Another question is, according to the contribution means, for example, is it possible to create a batch and streaming data pipelines can be created by Google Cloud Platform without ETL tool such as Power Center? Yes, of course. We can create data pipelines with streaming batch using data flow. Something called as data flow is there. Something called as data fusion is there. There are multiple tools if you want to write your code, then data flow is the perfect for your use case, like for batch and streaming. You don't need those Power Center or Power BA. What was that tool? Data Studio. I think some of the tools are there, ETL tools, right? Informatica, right? All those things can be, migrated into new data pipelines in GCP. Second question: these classes will be only theoretical and will be or will it be practical? If you're talking about storage classes, those are actually practical. You will see that in the demo. I'm expecting more practical teaching. Yes, just be with me, guys. This is the first session. I don't have anything to demo, and I mean I have, but just for the setting up the context for introduction, I'm just taking some. We have not started with GCP yet, right? We have just started seeing the features. So I'll walk you through the entire GCP console, and we will see in subsequent modules we will be talking about and seeing the practical examples of all of these ones. Okay, so don't worry, we'll be seeing everything on the console. Example of serverless computing. Serverless means, example is data flow. Okay, for data flow, you just write a code in Python and you submit the job, Madhavi. Okay, once you submit the job, automatically some VMs will be created depending upon the data, which is or your configuration, which you specify that I want these many nodes to be created. Automatically those many nodes will be or the VMs will be created, and that will automatically execute and your job. And once your job is completed, automatically those resources will be gone also. Okay, so that's an example of serverless computing. Whereas in case of data proc, okay, just as, okay, don't get overwhelmed or don't get confused. This is just for answering that question by Madhavi. So there is a service called as Dataproc, in which we actually create a server, and that server or that cluster will be up and running until you personally delete that. So that is not a serverless computing. Okay, so GCP has both type of services, serverless and non-serverless. Okay, so depending upon your use case, you can select. Nahid says some examples of IoT data analytics and data processing. Yeah, I talked about. We'll be talking about tools like BigQuery, Dataproc, Dataflow, PubSub, and then we have Data Prep, and then we have Data Lab, then we have um, what else? Data Fusion. We have Composer. There are so many, 8 to 10 I have already listed, right? So but just wait, when we will cover data analytics using big data processing, we'll cover that in that particular module. Okay, then the next question is, if we manage patching by our own, what will be the changes? It's related to pricing. No. So Bharat, when you opt for public cloud, you don't get to see the your cluster or server, right? You don't have to patch them manually. If you want to patch, you want to upgrade your own, why you are going for the public cloud by in the first place, right? You will have your on-premise clusters, but that's where you will have your own networking team, your management maintenance team. They will have to understand, they will have constantly have to monitor what all the different OS variants, what are the different patches available by the open source community. They have to be patched on your servers, right? Let's say you have 1000 VMs, you will have to patch them on all those 1000 VMs, right? So that's where uh, all these pain areas which I was talking about in the very first part of the today's session, these pain areas are gone when you go for the cloud providers. Price will be, no, they will not be charging you much. If you see the advantages of offloading this particular patching to the public cloud providers, you will of course it will be little more on the price side, but looking at the advantages that you get with offloading this patching to them, will be this price will be worth. Okay, could you please share our class Microsoft Notes which will help refer and make it good? I can, I mean, if you're talking about these rough notes, I can provide you this. Okay, I'll export this as a PDF and I'll attach here in the LMS. But what I wanted to tell you is in, okay, one second. If you go to this particular course contents, right? Mm. If you go to the course contents, I already uploaded an introduction to GCP. It's another PDF which is more readable. But if you want rough notes which we discussed today, I can extract that as a PDF and I'll attach that as a rough notes. Okay, no problem. I'll give you Swati. Swati Sevaran. Can I call you Swati? Then Harshada has a question. Please provide YouTube link that you are going to share. Okay, good that you reminded me. Just let me just check that URL. Okay, that should be in one of the documentation. I'll show you. Okay, so let me just open the student notes. Uh, Useful links. Okay, this PDF is already attached. This PDF is already attached. And do you have that here? Yeah, you see here subsea fiber optics. So this is a YouTube link in this one. Okay, don't see it now, just check it after the session. Okay, and this PDF is attached here. Useful links in the first bubble. Okay, just download the PDF from there and you have all the links. uh, okay, I'll just come to that PDF file just in a minute. Okay, just hold on with me. Let me just cover the questions. Serverless is like cron job on Linux. No. Cron job is a scheduler which tells you or which helps you to run something, right? Serverless, on the other side, it's a service in which you just write a code and see, in cron job you need a VM to run it, right? You need some server to run it, right? Cron job is just a scheduler. It just runs the job. Serverless, on the other side, it's such a service which you submit a job, it will create a resource and it will delete the resource. It will create a VM and it will delete a VM once the job is done. Cron job does not do the resource allocation. Cron job just a scheduler. Okay, just don't confuse the serverless with cron job. Naga, private cloud. If a MNC company would like to proceed with private cloud, which is located in one country, then how would it interact in other countries internally? Is it also in the same private and internal public cloud? How does it work? Okay, so Naga, so private cloud is basically limited for a company, right? And if they want to communicate within the same company in another country, that's what your question is all about, I think, right? But don't confuse private cloud with on-premise. Okay, private cloud is again a cloud or on cloud only, right? So you can have your private cloud in different regions of the world, right? But that private cloud resources will not be shared with any other company. It is limited to your company's usage only. Okay, it can span across the multiple regions, localities, or even the countries as well. Okay, but it is private to your company. Okay, don't confuse that with the on-premise setup, that it is located somewhere physically in one region. Okay, so don't confuse that way. That's the main difference between private cloud and on-premise setup. On-premise is physically available in your one of the area, let's say Mumbai. So your on-premise cluster is present in the Mumbai, but private cloud can have presence in all the areas of the world, right? But it is limited. Um, you can call me Swati's. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Swati. Your notes will also help, Aman. Yeah, I'll give my notes. The rough notes, I think, Aman. I'll give you those as well. Not an issue. Just that I don't, these are rough notes. If you have anything misunderstanding in that, it's your responsibility, guys. Okay, because I'm just using that for rough, right? So just always go for the notes that I provide you properly, and also edureka also has given you some presentation and slides, right? So just read those, and you can always go to the recordings and check what we're discussing, right? So now just be with me. I'll as I said in the start, I'll need 15-20 minutes of more time because of the agenda or the context that we had to set in the first session. Okay, so the next one I was talking about the free tier account, right? And before that, let me talk about this useful links, right? So I have attached this PDF over here. Go to the course contents, go to the first bubble, go to this one. This is the notes for introduction to GCP, high level. Okay, these are not the rough notes. Rough note I will attach after this particular session. Then the second one is useful PDF. This is what I'm talking about. So if you see here, cloud comparisons. So this is one of the good website that feel, if you, let's say you're coming from a different cloud background. Let's say you worked on AWS or Azure, right? And you want to understand what is the similar service in GCP. Okay, let me. Oh man, 1 second. Let me open that in a new tab. So this is a good comparison cloud.in compared cloud.in website. If you see here, there are a lot of public clouds mentioned over here. And if you see here, compute engine, right? So compute engine is the nomenclature being used in Google Cloud, whereas the same thing called as EC2 in AWS, same thing is called as virtual machines, Azure virtual machines in Azure. Similarly, other public cloud. And similarly, there are a lot of things, right? Artifactory. So this is called as container registry. This is called as elastic container registry in AWS. Similarly, so you can compare the tools, their nomenclature, and you can simply click on that, and it will take you to the some documentation of that particular service, right? So we'll be covering this. I mean, just wanted to give you some good comparison website. So that is the first link. Second one is the YouTube link that I'm talking about to understand. This is very interesting. You just got to see this, how Google Cloud has their network in the entire globe. Okay, then some of the other things are the Google documentations, Google Cloud documentation that I'll be covering in a minute. Just hold on this. And then pricing calculators, you can go here. You can see the price. 1 second. Let me mute my phone. Okay, so these release notes, developer use cases, comparisons, cheat sheets, all these will I'll cover when I'll show you the console, right? So I'm just going to cover that in a minute now. Okay, so after that, there's another PDF. In this one is GCP free tier account creation guide. This I created, and I'll show you here. Just download from there. And this is how you can create. This is the homework for you today. This is how you can create a free tier account. Okay, so let me open this. You can, if you have any Gmail account, that is fine. Otherwise, you can create a Gmail account creation. You can just Google like this, create a Google account. Okay, and just say for myself, right? And you will land up on this page. From here, I'm just going here. So I'm just putting my name over here. I want to create some username, unique username at gmail.com, some password if you can, whatever you can remember, right? And just create a simple account, right? So this will not need any credit card or anything. This is a Google account or a Gmail account it will create, right? Once you have that, you just need to go to this website called as console.cloud.google.com. Okay, just let me check this. Okay, let me paste this in case you guys don't have it. Okay, I'm just sending it to all. Okay, so you won't see this page. Okay, you will see a login page. So you log in with this new on this console.google.com. I am already logged in. It is already logging me in. Okay, but you will see a login page. The account which you create here, right, in the first step, that you can use, and it will take you something somewhere like this, right? Welcome Harshal Dharme, right? And then I mean, this is the login that you will get after this account creation. Then I have mentioned this website. You can go to console.cloud.google.com, log in with your ID which you just created, and you will end up over here. Okay, so just select your country and check this box, agree and continue, and okay, just click on activate. Okay, because it will say start your free trial, $300 of credit, and you won't get charged after that. Okay, so what is happening is here is Google Cloud is giving you $300 of free credits. Okay, all you need to have is a credit card. They will charge you for 2 Indian rupees. Okay, and then they will refund you back in 1 or 2 days as well. Okay, so with free I mean, with that credit card, they will give you $300 of credits, and you can use this $300 for exploring the GCP console. Using, you can create different VMs, you can store your data, and this will be for 90 days. Okay, after 90 days it will automatically go off, or if you want to continue the same account, you can also upgrade that to the paid account, and then going forward it will get charged. Okay, so just follow this. You just select personal project and continue, and then it will ask you for a phone number. So just feed your phone number, you will get an OTP. Just feed that OTP back, and you will come to this particular page where you just hit the continue, and just read this. You will just have to provide some credit card details, and it will take you to your credit cards payment page, and it will deduct 2 rupees, 2 Indian rupees. Just for the time being, it will be refunded, as I said. And finally, once you make the payment, you will automatically land up on the Google Cloud Platform's console. This is called as console. Okay, this is called as GCP console. After that, if you see any activate or uh, uh, upgrade button, do not click that button. Okay, don't convert your free tier account into a paid account. Okay, because after that, even though you forget to delete any resource or anything like that, you start getting bill for that. Okay, after that 300 free credits are over, you might get charged. That's where I'm telling you, don't upgrade your account. Okay, the only thing that you need to click on activate is this one, when you see start your trial, right? Now let me show you what I mean by that is, let me go to the incognito window. I'm just logging in. So what I have done is I have created one free tier account with this batch 2708 2022, which is our batch, right? So let me log in with that account. So once you log in, you will land up on this particular page. This is called as welcome page, or the dashboard, or the welcome page, I would say, right? You can click on this and you will always come here. Okay, So this is the way you can create a free tier account. This is the homework for you. Okay. Just make sure that you create, and you see here a free trial status. Okay, if I click on that, you see a free trial status. This is my Indian rupees converted for my $300, and I have created this 3 days back, so it is 87 days remaining, which is enough for us to explore the GCP in this particular course, right? So once you see this particular message, that means the free trial has been started. Okay, 90 days, 80 days, whatever it is being shown, that means the free trial is already done. And don't click on activate. Okay, it will get converted into paid account. So when you very first time when you go to the console, which I was showing here, right, that time you can click on activate, and that way after that it will ask you for the credit card. Once you given the credit card details and you land up on this particular page, after that don't activate that. Okay, if you have any doubt, just wait for the recordings and go with me and check the recordings of this particular video that we are just discussing, and then create your account. But I would expect by tomorrow you will have your own free tier accounts. Okay, there is one more website called as Cloud Skill Boost. Okay, it's a Google website, but I mean, I personally don't like spending. I think this charges you around 29 to $30 per month, which is way higher. I mean, which way expensive. At least for me, if I get free tier account, I am happy with it. 95% of our demos will be covered using free tier account itself. I don't want you to spend, money unnecessarily. See, $29 for monthly subscription is way expensive. Okay, but here there are some advantages, and we'll get those advantages. We'll enjoy those advantages, but without the subscription. Okay, so here there are some labs, quests, sample exams. All these things you can do. Maybe you can do after our course is complete, just before your certification. You prepare for certification. That time you can take for 1 month, maybe, your wish, but it's not mandatory. 95% of this our demos will be covered with free tier account. Okay. Um, what else I wanted to cover? Managing GCP. This is the second module. I actually wanted to start with that, but 22 minutes are we passed over, so we'll cover that tomorrow. So what I wanted to tell you is, uh, now if you see here, there'll be some assignment. You can go through this. Maybe you will not be able to complete that assignment today, but after 2 or 3 sessions you can come back and complete this assignment. Okay, I think this will be some practical. So yeah, some practical. You have to create a billing account, and all billing account will cover tomorrow. Okay. So yeah, there is nothing other than creating an account, a free tier account for you. That's the only homework that you have for today. Okay, let me just check any questions. Account creation task done last week itself. I'm not sure how it was done. So I don't want to confuse you or unnecessarily click here and there. That's why I just create a page. Just follow that. Could you please finish this class by 10 a.m. Naga? So as I told, right, for first 2 sessions, I need your 20 minutes of more time. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. I'm sorry for keeping you late. But yes, if you guys are getting somewhat late, I mean, for from the third session onwards, we will be wrapping up exactly at 10 a.m. IST time. But just before, I had to spend 40 minutes, right, talking about Edureka's guidelines. That's why I'm got a late here, right? So again, 20 minutes I'll need tomorrow as well. Sorry, Naga, about that. Okay. Uh, You cannot revert it, I think, Tamre, once you activate. Okay. I mean, the first time you can activate. To activate your GCP free trial, once you activated the free trial, then don't click on activate. It will go for the paid ones. But yes, we can create a Google ticket to dismiss that. Now, if you accidentally activate that, I mean to convert that to upgrade, you can create a Google ticket and they will revert it to a free trial account. They will surely be able to do that. What is the dismiss beside active? Dismiss means you are ignoring that. I don't want to avail, or I don't want to activate. That's the dismiss button. If I don't have a credit card, give it a try with your debit card, EG. Um, but I would say, I think as per my understanding, credit card is required. You can use anyone's friend's credit card or anything. It will be refunded back anyways, right? Which recording have to refer for today's class? Okay. So those who want to drop, if it is late for you guys, I'm just going to answer the questions. And tomorrow we'll be starting with the module number 2. Okay. So you can drop. Just before you drop, guys, I would just request you to fill the feedback. Tomorrow onwards, we'll be having more demos. Just be with me for today because there was a lot of introduction things I'll have to cover today, right? So yeah, so just provide a relevant feedback, and if there is nothing wrong I'm doing, just give me excellent. Otherwise, I mean, yes, you are free to give other ratings as well. But just one more thing, if you are giving me anything other than excellent, even though you are giving excellent, doesn't matter. Please feel the comment, the third option, the comments. If you feel something I'm going very fast, very slow, then provide that one liner at least so that I'll get to know. I'll not get your IDs or names. It will be anonymous, but at least I'll get some feedback. What do you guys are feeling about my teaching? Okay. So so those who want to drop, you can drop. I'll just answer the questions which are pending on the chat box, right? Which recordings? Okay. So you can go to your classrooms, or for me it's my batches. I think for you it will be classroom or something. I hope you guys are already aware. This will be similar thing you will be able to see. So you go to the class recordings. If you see here class 1 and class 2, this is from the last week. You will see class 3 recording here because this is typically class 3rd, right? Even though I'm starting from scratch, class 3 onwards will be my recordings. I hope you got the point. How to create Google ticket. Tamare, if you have accidentally activated, then let me know. I'll tell you how to create a Google ticket. Otherwise, um, I will be covering when I'll be navigating tomorrow from all these options. So here is where you can create a ticket. Okay, get support, and I'll show you. I have done it once. I have spent 5,000 bucks accidentally on my paid account, and Google Cloud is um, they are kind enough to refund back. Okay, so don't worry. Even in case you get deducted with your some account amount, okay, they will actually give you back if in case it is accidental. Okay, so they are kind enough on that as well. Debit card will work. Tamare says debit card will work. Then you guys can try debit card also. Okay, good to know, Tamare. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, I have clicked it accidentally. Okay, so okay, I'll help you, Tamare. If you can stay back for 5-10 minutes, I'll explain you. Let me cover the others. Great that your throat felt much better after the first hour. I actually had a cough syrup. Yeah. So okay, I don't see any other questions. Um, so guys, yeah, we can drop off. We can disperse. We can meet tomorrow, and we'll start with the module number 2. And yep. So, any other questions? Please post it now. Otherwise, I will work with Tamare. So, Tamare, let me just, yeah, thank you, Swati. So, Tamare, so if you have accidentally clicked on, I mean, you have this free trial account and you accidentally activated this, then what you can do is uh, click on this. Now, this is for Tamare or whoever is interested. Just click on this. I was anyways going to cover this tomorrow, but you can create a ticket today itself. So that just click on this, get support, and you will end up on this page. Okay, and this is that by default, this is the basic support that we get from Google. And then support, get help. Let's say, let me try. I had done it a while ago. Yes. So you can just select a category called as billing. Okay, just select billing, look up for the billing support, get billing support. Okay, and okay, yes. So this is where you want to land up on a billing assistance, and then simply just a clicks. You are just a click away. Contact billing support. Just click it on that, and it will automatically get your billing account. Okay, just confirm that you are only logged in your incognito window, so that you are only logged in with this particular one account, so that automatically this will take your billing account. Okay, so if you see multiple billing accounts, just select the relevant ones, because in one project you can have multiple billing accounts. Hopefully you will, if you log in with incognito window, you will only have one account logged in. That's why it will have only one billing accounts. Okay, so just select that and say continue, because this information is needed by Google Cloud representative for assisting you, right? So I have a technical product, I continue with the billing. So let's say continue with the billing support. So now they are giving you one video. If you don't want, we can just go for continue with the support. Okay, now here you need to select some categories. My account is suspended, no. I have a technical product issues, billing account settings and permissions, understand my payment issues. You can say payment issues. Okay, which of the following describes the issues? My payment was declared. I can't change. I can make changes to my billing account. You can select that. Cancel my billing account. No. Set up my billing account. Manage payment methods. Go back. Others. Maybe go back. Let me check. 1 second. I have a technical product issue. Let's try this. Okay. No. Go back. Let's see. Continue with billing. Continue with support. Understanding my charges. Billing account settings. Let's see. Cancel. I think we already seen this, right? Manage access. Let me just find it out. Okay. Free trial billing. I was charged, but I thought. See. So just select the free trial billing option, and you will see I was charged, but I thought I was on free trial. Just select this. Okay. Don't worry. And I want to learn about always free tier account. You can select one of them. That will connect you to a customer care executive. And then you can explain them that I accidentally clicked on activate. Please check. You can say that please check whether my account has been upgraded to a paid one, right? I have signed up for a free trial. Is my account showing as a paid one? If they confirm that it is not paid one, then you don't need any changes. If they say that yes, it has been changed to paid account, then you can ask them to revert it back to free trial, and they will do it for you, and you will also get email, okay, for your discussion with them. I recently had that issue, okay. Let me see. I have so many emails otherwise, but yeah, see, so if you see here, I had created a ticket with them. So it will generate a ticket number, and I said I was charged for 5,000 rupees in my free tier account. I'm not aware how it got deducted. I want to understand, and if it's possible, I want it to be refunded back. And they actually refunded it back. Okay, I guarantee that a refund will be shown. So yeah, so they are kind enough. If in case it is an old account, you got some reward, some deductions, they will give you back as well. But in case possible, if it is a new account that you accidentally deleted, activated, just get it into a free tier account, convert it to a free tier account, Tamare. Okay. I hope that is clear. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Thank you, Tamare. I see still a lot of people, more than 10 people online. Either they are sleeping or they are actually listening to what we are actually discussing. Okay, good. No issues. Um, okay, so guys, so that was all for today. Tomorrow we'll be discussing about managing the GCP. So yeah, let's see you tomorrow. If there are any other questions, I'm still here for one more minute, and just feel the feedback for me. Thank you, Samsher. Yeah, thank you for your kind words. Okay, then I take that as no more questions, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Okay, see you at 7 a.m. IST sharp. Thanks, Naid. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.